please rise. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. This Honorable General Court of Justice for the State of North Carolina, Superior Court for the County of Cumberland is now open and sitting for the dispatch of business. The Honorable James Floyd Emmons Jr., Judge President and presiding. God save the state and this honorable court. Please be seated.
Shut that door. Brought my gavel with me this morning. Get that out. Okay. Oh, here it is. Court's in session. Got our jury picked. What do we have? Talking to y'all.
You
What's the first matter?
You need to announce the state versus.
Yes, Your Honor, we have State of Arcadia versus Kinsley Williams in matter of cyber stalking statute.
So you picked the jury. These jurors acceptable to each side?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Bailiff, our jurors need pencils. They need to write this down. These pencils represent to you how important it is that you write down everything that you hear. Go ahead and pass them out. Anything before we begin evidence?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to exclude the evidence. Two statements, the best friend Alyssa Davis and the psychologist Alina
Evans.
Ancola.
You have two motions?
Excuse me, Your
You
Honor?
have two motions?
Yes, sir, to exclude the evidence, both of their statements.
All right, send the jury out. All right, the jury's out. The jury's out.
Okay, they're out. The means are here, but you're not here, so you get to learn about it. Only I don't know, because the arguments they make, they might not want the jury to
We'll
be.
send the jury out.
Yeah, jury's out. They're my other jurors. They have a different, they're class students that I need to, in fact. No, you're not.
Tell me the name of the case again.
You need the extra credit, you got it.
Name of the case.
Hurry, Jake.
State of Arcadia versus Kinsley Williams, Your Honor.
And what is the charge?
The charge is cyber stalking, statute 97-45-15.
All right, state your motion.
Your Honor.
State your motion. What's your motion?
Oh, motion to exclude the evidence of the two statements, Alina Evans and Alyssa Davis. Both statements were typed, neither are handwritten, and neither are signed. I don't want that to be, I don't want the defense to be able to let the witness be able to refresh their memory from a statement that's not authenticated.
Your Honor, all the statements are actually typed and not handwritten, so.
But they're not signed.
All of
Are
us.
these notes allegedly taken by the witnesses at the time of the incident or close to the time of the incident?
No, Your Honor, these are actually statements of before they actually met Kinsley Williams, as well as maybe during the time of meeting.
Are you going to authenticate them?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
Then introduce them into evidence?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
This,
Yes, Your Honor,
We
they
get-
are.
yes, Your Honor, we will introduce this into evidence.
Okay. Well, I'll reserve ruling on your motion until I have a proper foundation, proper authentication, and proper motion.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, what else you got?
That's all the motions we need.
We have a couple of pretrial motions as well, Your Honor. First of all, we have a motion to exclude the chain of custody evidence. This will be State Exhibit Mark I. We feel that this is far more prejudicial and probative.
What is it?
This is the chain of custody saying that there was a police officer who had searched my client's personal belongings. There's a search warrant for it.
Why
So
wasn't this taken care of on a pretrial motion? Just press.
we just felt that,
We didn't have a pretrial.
isn't this the pretrial motion, Your Honor?
This is a trial.
Yes, sir.
They didn't get a chance to do it for trial.
Okay.
Your Honor, it's completely irrelevant. All students waive
Wait a
the
second. I don't understand about the chain of custody.
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
What is the thing you want to suppress?
We want to suppress the entire document itself, as well as all the evidence collected.
What is the document?
The document is a evidence chain of
Commissioner
custody
approach the
tracking
bench,
form.
Your Honor.
Okay, well, wait a second, you need to speak so that they can hear to you. They can also.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you, Adam.
Your counsel's right there.
He said you need to speak where we can hear you.
All right, that's denied.
Thank you, Your
Any
Honor.
other motions?
We also have a motion to exclude Exhibit G. This would be
What is D?
Exhibit G. This is the diary of Shelby Edwards, I believe,
Okay, what are your grounds?
on the grounds of lack of authentication, because this is, this is on the grounds of beyond the scope of the mock trial evidence.
Okay,
Because from the exhibit that was presented to us firsthand, this is far more, this is extremely different than what was given to us firsthand. And this was given to us a week before the trial.
Your Honor, the printouts that the lead investigator got off of the Shark program, that you'll see here soon, matched the entries in Shelby Edwards' diary to a T. And if the defense is willing to stipulate that,
Your
have
Honor,
you gone over the evidence?
I've gone over the evidence, and there's actually examples in here that can tell you that this is actually prejudicial, because there's entries within the diary that say, if you have this in here, it can be led as hearsay. Now, I don't understand what kind of person will put in their diary something that says hearsay in it, but
Your Honor, it's a diary. Under the best evidence rule, she was there with the victim the time that all the messages occurred. As the messages occurred, she wrote them down in her diary, and they matched the print off to the lead investigator's.
this evidence
Did I
is
understand that some entries from the diary were given to you at an earlier time?
this was the actual document that was given to us
Mark, this-
at the start.
Or because some additional stuff was given?
Yes, sir.
You object to that?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's the same.
Thank you.
All right, you ready? All right, let's bring them in.
Excellent.
Adam, you can bring in the excerpts that you got in the packet.
Right.
You cannot bring in that hard book.
Right, right.
She's still calling. Okay. Yeah. I have the 25th.
All right, everybody take a note. What's this thing? You have an opening?
We do, Your Honor.
All right, take a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an opening statement. It's not evidence. It's a forecast of what the lawyers believe competent and admissible evidence will be.
I'd like to thank you for being here today in the matter of the state of Arcadia versus Wendy Williams. We are here today because of cyberstalking. We're here today because a woman, Kenzie Williams, knowingly and willingly used threatening words and language repeatedly over electronic communication device via chat room, webmail, blog. Okay. We're going to take a look at the statute on cyberstalking. Look at number 1 of the statute. It is unlawful. Unlawful. It is against the law. If you look at subsection A, use threatening words or language by electronic mail. And B, repeatedly. That's what I want you to take. Look at the statute. It's there in front of you. That's law. Those are the 3 building blocks.
Objection, Your Honor. The counsel cannot coach the jury on what law is stated for this case.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is an opening statement. It's supposed to be a forecast of court will tell you what the law is. You're to be guided solely by what the court says the law is. Makes sense.
The three puzzle pieces we're going to be giving you today are, there was electronic communication, it was repeatedly, and there was threatening words and language used. Now, one could understand if there was one message, one email, one chat logs that could have been taken out of context. That's completely understandable. Repeatedly, not once, not twice, not 3 times, over a 5-day span from October 19th to October 23rd. Kenzie Williams, who you will hear in her sworn statement, who refers to herself as MAD, repeatedly stalked the victim, Jamie Anderson.
Objection, speculation, Your Honor. We don't know whether or not my client actually did this or not.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a forecast of what the attorneys believe the competent evidence will show. It's not evidence.
Now, the state has the burden of proof. We have to prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that these puzzle pieces fit together. And I want you to hold me to that. You're listening to the opening statement, I want you to listen to the witnesses, and I want you to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Now, we're going to show you the actual chat room discussion originating from Kenzie Williams' registered usernames from Magnolia University. We're going to show you blogs from Kenzie Williams' blog site. We are going to show you those puzzle pieces. Now, the defense is going to try and tell you tales of lost passwords. And
Objection, Your Honor. How does the council know what we're going to talk about?
I don't know.
I'm going to try to tell you tales of lost passwords. They may give you a little misdirection and say that Kenzie Williams was in your computer when one of the many repeated messages were sent. They may even try to dig into Jamie Anderson's personal life, her personal character. I need to remind you, this is not about what Jamie Anderson does in her spare time. This is not a popularity contest. There was a crime committed by Kenzie Williams.
Objection.
What's your objection?
How can you just, excuse me, sir, objection because my client was not proven guilty for this case. He's stating already that the crime was committed by my client when...
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the opening statement. It is a forecast of what the attorney believes the competent and admissible evidence will be. It is not evidence. You may proceed.
The state will further demonstrate that there is strong circumstantial evidence from expert testimony that you will hear that these threats of violence had a very strong chance to leave the screen of the computer. All I'm asking you to do today is elicit the facts of the case, put the puzzle pieces together, and decide who the predator and prey is here today. Thank you.
All right, counsel, if you would introduce yourself and your cohorts to the jury and the court.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm Adam Moy.
Adam,
Yes, Your Honor.
last name?
Moy, M-O-Y-E.
Okay.
Jordan. And Fernando.
I'm sorry, say those names again.
Jordan and Fernando.
Is that her last name? And Fernando?
Kevin.
Jordan Petrola.
I'm sorry?
Petrola.
Stand and introduce yourselves.
Jordan Petrola. P-I-E.
How you spell that?
P-I-E. T-R-A-L-A-J.
And Fernando Teves, F-E-R-N-A-N-D-O, last name T-E-V-E-Z.
T-E.
T-E-V-E-Z.
Shall I? You press down. All right, who speaks for the defendant?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead and introduce yourself and the client.
My name is Michael Faison. I will be the lead defense attorney for today. Alongside me are Brent Shelton and Shanoa Nixon. And we,
CHENOA. NIXON.
Your client is,
our client is Kinsley Williams.
she's charged with cyberstalking.
Correct.
All right, you have to see.
Good afternoon, Judge Ammons,
Good afternoon.
ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Michael Faison, and alongside me are Brent Sheldon and Shanoa Nixon. We'll be representing the defense counsel today. You may be wondering why you're here today. Now, on October 26, 2010, my client, Kinsley Williams, was arrested and wrongly accused of cyberstalking. And this is all because of the internet. See, the internet is what you might call a bunch of blunt statements with punctuation marks. See, because unlike being face to face with somebody, where you can read their body language, read their facial features, where you can tell by the tone of their voice whether or not they're being sarcastic, the internet's nothing like that. Now, you can just look at my clients. Just take a good look at her. The evidence that you will hear today will prove to you that not only was she not capable of cyberstalking Ms. Jamie Anderson, but it will prove to you otherwise. It will prove to you that Ms. Jamie Anderson is a well-rounded student, how she likes to challenge her professors intellectually, and how she goes above and beyond the call of duty when it comes to doing homework assignments and projects. Again, you might be wondering why you're here. My client, Kinsley Williams, was using an online chat room provided by the university strictly for the function that it was made for, as an academic resource outside of the classroom environment. However, now she stands trial because of that. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will hear testimony from her friend, who will let you know what kind of person Kinsley is. You will hear testimony from an expert blogger, who will tell you that the messages that are within the chat room are not threatening in any way. You will hear testimony from an actual psychologist herself, who will let you know that Kinsley Williams does not display any characteristics of a cyberstalker. You will also hear testimony not only from a professor of computer science at Magnolia University, but the man who invented the web page and the chat room himself. And they will let you know that there are various implications installed within the chat room in case any kind of threatening messages were to occur. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I just ask that you keep an open mind when you hear all the evidence and all the testimonies here today, and not just what the prosecution gives to you. Again, I just want to let you know that the burden of proof lies solely on the prosecution. While I state that we will prove to you that Kinsley Williams is not guilty, we will prove to you, the prosecution must prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt, that Kinsley Williams intended, hear me out, intended on threatening Ms. Jamie Anderson. Now, what is a reasonable doubt? A reasonable doubt is any doubt in your mind whatsoever, from hearing the testimony, from hearing all the evidence, or even believing that there's a lack thereof. And if the prosecution cannot prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that my client was intended on threatening Ms. Anderson, then you must find my client not guilty. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you for coming out here, taking the time and consideration of being here tonight or today. Thank you very much.
We need to take this through now.
Okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Kinsley Williams, stand up. Charged with 2 counts of cyberstalking. You have a seat. The person that she allegedly cyberstalked is Jamie Anderson. Stand up. To this charge, the defendant is entered a plea of not guilty. Burden of proof is on the state of North Carolina to prove to you, if they can, beyond a reasonable doubt, each and every element of this case. The defendant's plea of not guilty means that she is presumed innocent. You are presumed that she is innocent unless and until the state can prove to you, to your unanimous satisfaction, beyond a reasonable doubt, that she is guilty of the crime. All right, call your first witness.
State would like to call Officer Martin Riggs of the Magnolia Campus Police Department.
This is the pen of the Bible, right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, and the truth to help you God?
Could you please state your name for the court?
Officer Martin Riggs.
And what is your current title and qualifications for the record?
I'm a Magnolia Campus Police Officer, qualifications and criminal investigation, evidence collection procedure, ethics on crime prevention, motor vehicle law, traffic law, and patrol duties and detention duties.
Thank you. Could you please share with us what happened on the night of Saturday, October 23rd?
On October 23rd, two girls entered my office. They were very shaken up. These two girls were Jamie and Shelby. They were very flustered, very shaken up. One girl, Jamie, she was shaking very badly, couldn't get her words out. Once I calmed them both down, they gave me some printouts of the entries that they were receiving online. These entries were very threatening to the
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
They felt they were threatened. So according to protocol, I called higher authorities, which is the Mockingbird Police Department, and they handed it over to Detective Ashton Hodges.
And what time did what was your conversation with Ashton Hodges?
The conversation I had with Ashton Hodges is that we had some allegations over an online chat room that warranted that they need to come down and investigate this.
Okay, and what time did he arrive?
He arrived around 11 o'clock.
What happens once Officer Hodges was on scene?
Once Officer Hodges arrived at my office, he took my statement first. He went to the office where I had the two girls waiting, and he calmed them both down. They were still pretty shaken up. Once he got to both their statements, he gave them just instructions that they need, if this person keeps trying to contact them, that they need to stay in contact with this person because it's going to take a while for him to ID the person and retrieve the data to know exactly where these messages were coming from. We gave both the girls our personal contact information so that they could call us at any time and we would have a rapid response. He also gave them specific instructions that they should not divulge any information or any more messages that they received with anybody.
And when did anything else happen that night?
No, nothing else happened that night.
When did Officer Hodges contact you next?
He gave me a courtesy call on Sunday and Monday. Sunday was to tell me that he was going to stop by and talk to the computer science professor and also get some statements from around campus. He also contacted me on Monday, just another courtesy call, that he was coming to collect the sharp data information from the computers.
Did he contact you again?
Yes, Tuesday morning.
And what did he say Tuesday morning?
Tuesday morning, he told me to have the dean standing by, that he had strong criminal evidence that warranted an arrest on cyber stalking.
And so Officer Hodges came to campus?
Yes, he came to campus.
And what happened when he arrived on campus?
I had the dean standing by. We went to the dorm of Kingsley Williams. He took her downtown and gave me specific instructions to search her room and car.
Did you search Kingsley Williams' room and vehicle?
Yes, I searched both her room and car.
Your Honor, I'd like to Exhibit 1, chain of custody tracking form, and I'd like to have it published to the jury.
You have 12 copies?
Ms. Vonnegut said one would be suffice.
Okay, that's fine.
And they can look at it when they go back and make their deliberations.
Okay, you just let it up and ask for publish it later.
Commissioner,
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Commissioner, approach the witness room. You recognize this?
Yes, this is the evidence chain of custody tracking form.
And could you please tell us what's down here at the bottom?
That's my signature and signature of Officer Ashton Hodges.
Okay, and could you please read the contents that were found in Kingsley Williams' vehicle for us?
Yes, I found one all-black outfit with minimal coverage, cat o' nine tails, one black outfit with minimal coverage.
What does that mean?
There was not, it was just, barely covering any skin parts. It was basically just a top layer and a bottom layer.
Was it on her?
No, it was in her vehicle. 2 metal handcuffs, 12-foot rope, spoil of 550 cord, 2 rolls of Gorilla duct tape, a softball bat, 12-inch knife, and a roll of trash bags.
Thank you. Now, after you filled this out, you signed it over to Ashton Hodges?
That
Is
is
that correct? What happened after you signed the chain of custody evidence form over to Ashton Hodges?
I told him we had some evidence, so he came back to the campus. I signed over the evidence to him, and he was also there to check on the inconsistencies in Ms. Kingsley Williams' statement.
Inconsistencies in Kinsley's statement?
We had to go to the bookstore. She claimed that she wrote her username and password in one of the textbooks.
And what were your findings at the campus bookstore?
When we went down there, the campus bookstore only had 5 copies. It was a very old textbook, and me and Ashton Hodges found no evidence of any username or password written in that. And the bookstore clearly stated that they don't erase anything from those textbooks.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Sustained. Ladies and gentlemen, disregard the last statement of the witness, not to play any part in consideration of any fact in this case.
No further question.
Your witness.
So, Officer Riggs, how long have you been a police officer?
I was a police officer for 12 years at Mockingbird Police Department and another 4 here at Magnolia University.
And you said that you had extensive training in evidence collection procedures?
I did receive a class on evidence collection and procedures.
Okay. And you were the one who filled out this evidence chain of custody?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and that's your signature on the bottom?
That is my signature.
Is there a search warrant provided with this evidence chain of custody?
During protocol of the school, we had the dean standing by, and that's sufficient enough to search a student's vehicle and room.
But there's no search warrant?
No.
And when Shelby and Jamie came to your office, how did they appear?
They appeared very flustered, very distraught, very shaken up. Jamie was shaking and couldn't really speak to me when she first got there.
Is it possible that due to their nervousness, they could just be pointing out possibly any kind of person they might have negative feelings towards?
It wasn't, we didn't know who the person was exactly. They showed me the blogs and chat rooms, but we had no idea until Ashton Hodges collected the sharp data information of who the person was.
Did you detain my client?
I personally did not detain your client. The detective detained your client.
And while she was detained, this is when you went out and searched her vehicle?
That is correct.
Without a search warrant?
Without a search warrant.
And you said that you had the records of the chat rooms, am I correct?
I skimmed over them briefly when the girls came in, yes.
Okay. So could you tell me what the date was when the first alleged threatening message was posted?
It was so long ago. If I had a printout of them, I could tell you more specifically what date.
Your Honor, may I post the witness?
Yes.
Okay. Can the state please see what he's...
Yeah, I think you're entitled to.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Just the date.
Just that page?
Just these 2 dates. Do you recognize this, sir?
Yes, this looks like the printout that the girls gave me.
Could you read the date for me, sir?
I'm going to introduce it in
Oh.
evidence.
No, he's not your own.
No, sir.
Monday, October the 18th, 2010.
You can read it to yourself.
Okay. Did it refresh your memory?
Yes.
Could you explain what the date was that they first posted?
Monday the 18th, in October.
And could you please read this to yourself, of course? The last date?
There's no date. It's a time.
Other side. Is your memory refreshed? Could you explain to me what the last date that these alleged threatening messages were posted?
October 23rd.
So if I'm correct in saying that's been a whole week
Correct.
that this has been ongoing?
It's 5 days.
5 days.
5, 6.
And what day did they come to your office?
The 23rd.
The 23rd. So they waited an entire week to come to your office for something that's a threatening message.
It would seem like it.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Is Magnolia University a private institution?
It is, yeah.
Could you please explain the rights of a student in a private institution such as
I'm gonna
Magnolia?
stop you there, don't go there, it's a tough issue with me, because you have the same rights as a private university that you do as a state, so stop. I'm gonna stop.
Once detained?
Once detained, you sure do.
No further question.
It's just our students at Methodist don't seem to read the student handbook and learn their constitutional rights like they should.
It's the same.
And Adam, I shouldn't pick on you because you haven't lived on campus, so that's why, and you're a transfer. But everybody else who pretty much knows that you do have those rights at Methodist, and private universities are not treated any different. Go ahead.
Anything else?
No, sir, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
Through this witness. Okay, sir, come down.
Your Honor, we'd like to.
The state would like to call Officer Ashton Hodges of the Mockingbird County Police Department.
Good to be eager.
It is.
State your name, please.
Ashton Hodges.
I'm sorry?
Ashton Hodges.
What's your right hand about? Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, that's what shoes up, you got.
All right, have a seat.
Officer Hodges, could you please, for the court, tell us your current position as well as any special qualifications you hold?
Yes, I'm a Mockingbird County police investigator. I work with the Elite Cybercrime Unit, which means I have advanced special training in computers and online security issues. I'm a 4-year active duty veteran of the United States Navy. I am a certified computer examiner. I've graduated from Magnolia University with honors and a computer science degree, and I'm currently serving my 2nd year on the force.
You said special training. What does that include?
Yes, it means other than basic law enforcement training, I have I've received training in operations recovery, operating system recovery. I've received basic evidence recovery, data recovery, and basic cell phone investigations.
And the cybercrime unit, what does that entail?
That means I work with some of the top analysts, cybercrime analysts in the state. Once you enter BLET, basic law enforcement training, you take exams and training courses. Once you exceed a certain level in the tests, you are able to choose which squad you want. In Mockingbird County, we have ballistics, DNA, forensics, and cybercrime. Because I was able to score high, because I scored high enough, I was able to choose which squad. Of course, I chose cybercrime. And Mockingbird allows you to take extra courses and training in that selected area.
And what does a cybercrime analyst actually do?
We basically deal with anything with computers, anything from hijacking, software intrusions, cyber stalking, cyber bullying, anything to do with sorts like that.
How many cases have you been involved with or that have been related to cybercrime?
Over 100.
Your Honor, given his current position and qualifications, I'd like to have him recognized as an expert witness in cybercrime analysis and forensic computer examination.
No objections, Your Honor.
All right,
Thank you.
he will be allowed to testify by consent.
Thank you, Your Honor. And what was your involvement in this case in particular?
I was the lead investigator in this case.
And on the night of October 23rd, you received a call from Magnolia University Campus Police?
Yes, sir.
And who was it that called you?
It was Officer Riggs.
What was the nature of that phone call?
He called and informed me that he had a situation involving 2 females that came and reported somebody was harassing them on the internet. And so he called he knew if anything were to pursue, as in a civil case or criminal case, there needed to be a proper chain of custody. So Mockingbird County works with the campus in order to keep that chain of custody.
And what happened upon your arrival at Magnolia?
I was met by Officer Riggs. He shortly briefed me on the situation that was going on. And then I met Ms. Jamie Anderson and Shelby Edwards. They explained, or obviously they were shooken up. Very nervous, very hesitant as to what...
speculation.
Hey.
Overruled.
They were nervous as to what was going on, what had happened. So me and Officer Riggs tried to calm them down. We sat there, I tried to make them comfortable, realized I was here for their benefits. I was just trying to understand what was going on, so I needed them to calm down. Finally got them calmed down. They explained to us and showed us the messages of threatening language and
Objection, speculation. We don't know.
harassment claims that were going on in these messages. After that, me and Officer Riggs, I told the ladies, I said, you need to never disclose this to anybody other than to myself or Officer Riggs. Gave them our personal information. However, I needed them to continue, if these messages were to continue towards them, to reenact or to keep talking to these people, to whoever it may be, in order to extract data from them in case we're not allowed, or in case we're not able to extract the data from what was already happened. Obviously, that Jamie was upset about this. Shelby, both were upset.
That's juvenile court going on over there, just.
And then after that, I asked Officer Riggs to escort them back to their dorms, and I informed Officer Riggs I would be back to the next day to receive the data that we needed to extract, to talk to the computer technology staff.
And when did you talk to the computer technology staff about the data extraction?
That was the next day. I believe it was Sunday.
That was Sunday?
24th.
Okay. And what happened when you spoke to the campus computer technology staff?
I informed them they needed to, I talked to a Laura Albert and a Pat Clifford. They needed to extract the data of the chat room messages that occurred between the 22nd through the 24th. I believe they were able to extract from the 18th to the, 22nd to the 23rd, and they were able to extract from the 18th to the 23rd. I also informed them they needed to look into the SHARP program in order to see if any triggers in the monitoring system had been triggered or alerted.
What is the SHARP program?
The SHARP program is a computer software monitoring program. It has pre-designated words that you're allowed to program into it, so that way when somebody in a chat room or email or a blog uses threatening or harmful language, it's supposed to trigger, and whoever's monitoring the system at the time will be alarmed, and there's actions that they can take from that.
In your opinion, is the SHARP program an efficient and effective program?
In my opinion, I do not. In order for it to work properly and efficient, it needs to be turned on. It needs to be monitored by someone, hopefully faculty and staff. And it needs to be, and because of the pre-designated words, there's ways to maneuver around these alerts that could be triggered.
When did you receive the extracted data from the computer science department?
It was late Monday evening. I believe this was the 25th. It's the same night. I went and got the information. They informed me that Ms. Kinsley Williams' usernames were the usernames that were involved in the chat rooms, other than Ms. Jamie's. So since I was there on campus, I went ahead and decided to ask Ms. Kinsley where her whereabouts and what she had done on the days of the 18th through the 24th, or 23rd, excuse me.
Okay. And what was on the data that you extracted from the SHARP program?
On that, can you repeat that?
What was the data that you extracted?
There was repeating threatening messages originating
Objection,
from...
speculation.
There was repeating messages of threatening language originating from Kinsley Williams' username.
Objection.
What's your objection?
Speculation. We don't know whether or not it was Kinsley Williams.
Hazel?
My opinion.
Overruled.
Thank you. What are the usernames registered to Kinsley Williams?
There were two. One was Shockwave, capital SHOKWAVE, all one word. And the other one was Fatal Flaw, 2006, capital FATALFLAW, again one word, 2006.
Now, can you talk us through the events leading up to and after the arrest of Kinsley Williams?
Objection. Calls for a narrative.
That's what direct examination is about. Overruled.
Can you ask that again, I'm sorry?
Could you please talk us through the events leading up to the arrest and leading up to and after the arrest of Kinsley Williams?
Yes. That night, once I received the extracted data from the computer staff, I went home and for a brief time was at the office as well. I went over the extracted data. By morning, I came to a conclusion that there was very threatening language and messages that were harassing Jamie in these chat room messages. I then decided that I needed to go to campus right away, and so therefore I called Officer Riggs, let him know I was on my way to campus. By the time I got to campus, Officer Riggs was waiting with the dean. We headed to Rutledge Hall. I made the arrest on Kinsley Williams. As I was asking Miss Kinsley to get in the car, I ordered Officer Riggs to search the dorm room and her car as I took her to booking. By the time I got to booking, Officer Riggs had called me already and said he had found things, not in her dorm, but in the car. There were items that were found. So once the booking process of Kinsley Williams was complete, I headed back to campus with a chain of custody form.
Commissioner Purchase Witness Room,
Yes, sir.
you recognize this?
For the record, what is it?
Evidence chain of custody tracking.
Your Honor, we would like to see what.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me.
It's already been admitted, Exhibit 1. What?
What were you saying?
For the record, it's Exhibit 1. Go ahead.
Okay.
Tell us what it is.
This is a Mockingbird Police Department evidence chain of custody tracking form.
And is this your signature at the bottom?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what happened after Martin Riggs signed over the evidence to you?
After he signed the evidence over to me, I stored the evidence in my car. I remembered that there were some inconsistencies in Miss Kinsley's statements. Therefore, I went to go verify those. In her statement, she said that she had written her username and passwords on a textbook that she had had the semester before. Therefore, I went to the library, asked for a copy of that book that she had wrote on, and the library informed me that there were only 5 copies of this book, none of them of which had any writing of any sort on them.
So you took Kinsley Williams and Jamie Anderson's statements, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And in either of their statements, was there any interaction between the two girls other than online
Objection,
chat
counsel,
room?
question.
Overruled.
Other than online chat room usage?
Most of their interaction was online. There was one account that happened in the student union.
What was the encounter at the student union?
Jamie and Shelby were walking into the student union and saw Miss Kinsley Williams, who apparently was pointing and laughing and making jokes and calling out Miss Shelby and Jamie.
Are you, the witness is going to testify?
Yes, Your Honor. And they're in the written statements that Ashton Hodges took himself.
Yes, sir.
So this is what they told you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the witness may answer the question. The answer may be used to corroborate or impeach what the witnesses he's talking about later may say. You're not to take what he says that the witness said as the truth of the matter asserted. Overruled.
Thank you, Your
All right, next.
Honor. Officer Hodges, you stated earlier that you disposed of over 100 cases dealing with cybercrime. Is that correct?
That's correct.
How long did it take these cybercrimes to develop?
Most of these cases, if not all, they were long periods of time. They took more than weeks. They took months, years, several years.
And in this case, from the first message to the police report, how many days did it take?
Short 5, maybe 7 tops. Which I'm surprised, but I'm glad at the same time that it's taken that it was a short amount of time. We usually don't catch these things before something else happens.
Did any of the related cases that you dealt with escalate into violent crimes?
Yes, sir. We've had homicides, suicides, calls from online communications and threatening and harassing messages. We've had burglaries. We've had
Objection.
several things.
Sustained.
What was the common denominator in those cases?
They all originated from chat room messages, blogs, or email, some kind of online form of communication.
Officer Hodges, in your expert opinion, would anything lead you to believe that stalking would lead to screening review?
Objection.
Sustained.
Could you ask that again?
I'm sorry?
I didn't understand the question.
Good, because I sustained it.
No further questions.
Witness.
All right, this is Officer Hodges?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, you stated that there was a chain of custody evidence?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And as previously stated from Officer Riggs, that there was no search warrant provided.
Correct.
The dean was there, correct?
Correct.
Is the dean here present right now?
No, sir.
No, sir. Okay. So since the dean isn't here now to back up to testify to this, and there's no search warrant, do you understand that this was an illegal search warrant done on Kinsley's personal property?
No, sir.
You do not understand that it was an illegal search?
I do not believe it was a legal search. To my knowledge of the policy.
Objection! Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a proper inquiry. The court has already ruled. Proceed.
Officer Hodges, you mentioned that there was a SHARK program, am I correct?
Correct.
Now this SHARK program, this is only administered by the faculty of Magnolia University, am I correct?
I'm not sure about administered.
As in, the only people who would know about the SHARK program would be faculty members.
And students, yes, sir.
Students know about the SHARK program?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now you mentioned about going to the bookstore to search for the library to search for the username?
Yes, sir.
All right. And the library said they could not provide you with that information, correct?
They provided information. They said that there were only 5 copies in that library, none of them which had been written in.
And Officer Riggs was at the bookstore with you, correct?
No, sir.
He was not.
No, sir.
Now, when you had asked for the information, did you realize that there could have been a possibility that whatever book you were wanting could have been sold already?
Yes, however, those 5 books were the only copies at all.
That
On
they ever
that
had
campus.
within the school?
Yes, sir.
Now,
At least that's what I was informed of. Excuse me.
you mentioned that you had over 100 cases of cyberstalking, correct?
Yes, sir.
And out of all 100 cyberstalking cases, have there been any cases where there was mistaken identity or maybe failure to prove intent?
There may be a handful. Yes,
A
sir.
handful.
Yes, sir.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah.
All right, Claudia, Secretary.
Your Honor, the state would like to call Carlos Cleaver to the stand.
Place your left hand on the Bible. Or raise your right. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Mr. Cleaver, please tell me, what do you do for a living?
I'm
Well,
full.
State your name first.
Carlos Cleaver.
All right, you may proceed.
Sorry. Mr. Cleaver, please tell me, what do you do for a living?
I'm a full-time student at Magnolia University.
How long have you been at Magnolia for?
I'm a senior, so about 4 years.
Okay. Would you please tell me if you know Jamie Anderson?
Yes, that's my ex-girlfriend.
Since when have you known Jamie Anderson?
About since middle school.
Okay, would you mind telling me about your relationship with Jamie Anderson?
We had a good relationship. Things just didn't work out, so we decided to break up.
Okay, how long did you and Jamie date?
About 6 months.
And are you and Jamie Anderson still friends?
Yes, we're still friends. We really never had a reason not to be friends.
Okay, and can you please describe Jamie's personality?
She's a very nice, sweet, and caring girl. She has a great personality. She never bothers anybody, never causes any trouble with anyone.
Okay, were you and Jamie sexually active?
Yes, sir.
Would you mind elaborating why did you and Jamie break up?
Things just didn't work out. We wanted different things. I was more a traditional type person, and she wanted other things, so we just decided to break up.
When, if ever, did you and Jamie argue?
We never really argued about anything, which it was just different from past relationships.
Okay, when, if ever, did Jamie have any issues with anyone?
Objection, compound question.
You can answer.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. When, if ever, did Jamie Anderson have any issues with anyone?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
To my knowledge, she didn't have any trouble with anybody. It kind of ticked me off because she didn't stand up for me at certain times, but she didn't really have any problems with anyone.
Okay. When, if ever, have you witnessed Jamie being upset or distressed before this incident?
Never really. She was always just calm and chill.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Your witness.
Were you and the plaintiff involved? Or were you and were you and Jamie involved intimately?
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
Objection. Asked and answered.
It's her first question, or it's her first question, isn't it?
Yeah,
It was addressed during the direct.
Oh, that's not an appropriate objection. You may ask the question, try to speak a little louder.
Okay. Did you and Jamie have a sexual relationship?
Yeah.
What did that sexual relationship involve?
Sex.
certain aspects, certain activities. Did she ever push your limits?
Your Honor, objection. What does Jamie Anderson's sexual activity have anything to do with
I don't
this?
know, but it sounds pretty interesting.
Can you repeat the question?
Did she ever push your limits?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
How?
She was into other things, and I was a more traditional type person.
What kind of things?
She wanted to tie me up, S&M type stuff.
Did that also involve role playing as well?
No, she just wanted to tie me up, and I wasn't allowing it.
So she liked dangerous
Your Honor,
sex.
objection. Where is the defense going with this?
Just getting interesting.
Can you repeat that?
So she liked dangerous sex, to your knowledge.
I wouldn't say it was dangerous. She just wanted to tie me up, and I wasn't allowing it.
How do these activities make you feel?
I didn't want to do it, first of all, so we never did it.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Thanks, so you come down. Evidence witness.
The state would like to call Shelby Edwards to the stand.
Raise it. Place your left hand on the Bible, or raise it right. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Shelby Edwards.
Ms. Edwards, what do you do for a living?
I'm a full-time college student at Magnolia University.
And where do you live?
Rutledge Hall on the second floor.
Since when have you lived on campus?
Well, I'm a junior now, so about 3 years.
Do you have any roommates?
I do.
What's the name of your roommate?
Jamie Anderson.
And how long have you known Jamie Anderson?
Well, we went to the same high school, so about 7 years now.
And how well do you know Jamie? Do you believe you know Jamie Anderson?
Fairly well. Like, we're kind of like best friends now.
Okay, and how would you describe Jamie's personality?
Very sweet, nice young lady, always bubbly, very cool and very laid back.
Do you and Jamie Anderson spend a lot of time together?
Yes.
Were you when, if ever, did you and Miss Anderson use the chat room together?
Well, we have a computer in our room, so she normally logs on in our room, and I'm always there. And I was also there when she got all those little creepy messages as well.
I'm sorry, creepy messages. Would you mind
Objection,
elaborating?
speculation.
Overruled.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes, you mentioned creepy messages. Would you mind elaborating?
Well, yes, Jay was getting very disturbing messages from another student at Magnolia University.
How do you know she got these messages?
Because they was referencing her nickname Jam and her username Jam at Magnolia.
And when did she receive these messages?
Between October the 18th through October the 23rd.
And what did these messages say?
They was talking about like pain, death, torture, suffocation, rotting if buried alive, those type of messages.
Okay, and did you keep copies of all of these messages?
Oh yes, I did. I made printouts of the chat room, and I also kept them in my diary.
Okay, and did that include the usernames?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Edwards, would it help you in your testimony today to have a copy of those printouts?
Yes, it would.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
May I please introduce into evidence exhibits 7 through 10?
Objection, Your Honor. There's absolutely no foundation to these chat logs whatsoever.
Let me see.
Your Honor, these are the chat logs that the officers obtained from the Computer Science Department at Magnolia University.
Okay, overruled. They're admitted over the defendant's objection.
Thank you, and can I please have these posted to the trial record, registered in the trial record?
Yeah, they're admitted. Yes.
Thank you.
Now, when did Jamie receive the first threatening message?
On Monday, October the 18th.
Would you mind telling me what that message said?
Yes. She received a message from Fatal Flaw 2006 at 5:11 p.m. Jams in the window. Exercise all you want, my friend. You won't be able to run fast enough.
Okay. Would you mind telling me how did Jamie react to this message?
Okay, like when she read it and when she read that Jams in the window, like she seemed very concerned and very scared that someone was like standing outside of our dorm room watching her exercise.
Okay. Did Jamie receive any more threatening messages on that day?
No.
Did anybody approach you at all?
No.
Okay. When did Jamie receive the next message?
On Thursday, October the 21st.
Okay, and what did that message say?
She received a message from Shockwave at 3:25 p.m. It says, speaking of color, Jamie's been seen wearing school colors all week. Think blood won't show on those dark colors.
Okay, and in this instance, how did Miss Anderson react to the
She
message?
jumped away from the computer because the word blood just stuck out to both of us. Like we both had the shakes, like we didn't know. And I tried to reassure her like it's gonna be okay. But she was very freaked out. So I suggested that we go to the student union so she could calm down because we both knew that it wasn't going to be that bad.
Okay, and what happened next?
We went to the student union like I had told you already. And when we got there, we seen Kinsley and some of her friends sitting there. We didn't go in because Jamie pulled me back out of view, but we heard them laughing and pointing saying, there goes the Jam and Jam at Magnolia. So we just left the way we came instead of going through the student union to avoid any more of their verbal teasing.
To your knowledge, why was Jamie avoiding Kingsley Williams?
I mean, you could imagine she was very distressed and disturbed because the messages she had previously got and the fact that Kinsley had mentioned her nickname Jam and her username Jam at Magnolia.
Okay, why was that disturbing to Jamie?
Because no one was supposed to know that her username was Jam at Magnolia and Kinsley Williams referenced her username.
Okay, did anything else happen on that day?
No, sir.
Would you mind telling me when did Jamie receive the next message?
Yes, on Friday, October the 22nd.
And would you mind sharing with me what did that message say?
Yes, she received a message from Shockwave at 3:10 p.m. It stated, listen good and respond or don't. Anticipation is what it's all about and building fear. You never know when you'll be forced to face your greatest fear, suffocation, torture, and painful prolonged death. Shortly after that, Jamie logged off, and then she noticed when she got back on that Shockwave had written another message that stated, Jam is full of fear will make a great experiment. And then lately, after that, she received another message from Shockwave at 3:36 that says, "Jamming is bad. Time is running out, my jamming friend. Maybe we can meet in the alley."
Thank you. And how did Jamie react to these messages?
At this point, she was thinking about just dropping out of school, taking a semester off, and letting things die down. But I tried to reassure her that that wasn't the right thing to do, but she just seemed very freaked out about it.
Did anything else happen on that day?
No, sir.
What happened the following day?
This was Saturday, October the 23rd. I woke up and I noticed Jamie was just sitting there looking out the blinds. Looked like she didn't even get any sleep that night. So,
Objection, Your Honor. What is the relevancy of this?
If you,
I don't know. Overruled.
Okay, as I was saying, I woke up and I seen Jamie sitting there peeping out the blinds, and so then we talked and decided to get on the chat room. And when we did, we noticed that she had more messages referring to her.
Okay, what did this message say?
Yes, it came from Shockwave at 9:38 a.m. I admit to being mad, but madness can be a good thing. It gives me direction, focus, and an outlet for my aggression. Ever wonder about pain and suffering? And then, not too long that Jamie had been on, she received another message from Shockwave at 9:45 that stated, "Jamie, can you come out of your second floor roost and play?"
Okay, thank you. And did Jamie receive any more messages after that?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Overruled.
She logged off the chat room at that time, and then as soon as she logged off, she received an email. The subject line was blank, but we knew that it was from a student at Methodist because they use user at Methodist ULoop, so we knew that was someone using the computer, the computer's library. And that message reference said fatal flaw, being out of control, my jamming friend, and it talked about pain and the second floor roost. And at this point, Jamie and I knew that the wording that she received in the previous messages and this email were the same, such as my jamming friend and second floor roost, which they were referring to our dorm room because we live on the second floor.
Okay, what happened after that? She got that message.
She received, we went right to campus security because at this point enough was enough. So we then went to campus security. I took along with me the printouts along with my diary so they wouldn't know we were lying or anything like that. And we went to see Officer Ridge, and we told him about the chat room messages. And Jamie was so shaken up, we was trying to get her to calm down so she can talk too as well. So after we told Officer Ridge about the messages, he informed us to continue to use the chat room as normally and not to discuss with anyone that we had came to them that they will be investigating.
Okay, what did you do after leaving the police office?
We did exactly what we was told. We went back to our room, used the chat room, and that's when Jamie continued to get more messages.
Were these also threatening messages?
Yes.
Anything in particular that was of concern?
Yes, because after we went back, we noticed that the messages were threatening, and she received 3 more messages on this day, saying they went to see the campus security.
Okay, and when did you report this incident, excuse me?
On October the 23rd.
Okay, and did you ever tell anybody about the police investigation?
No.
And have there been any more messages referencing Jamie since that day?
No, not since Kingsley Williams was arrested.
Thank you, no further questions.
So you said that Miss Anderson was extremely upset.
Yes.
So then why did you wait an entire week to report everything?
I mean, it all happened so quickly. Not to mention, we didn't get
That's
any
a week.
messages.
That's 7 days.
What?
7 days. You consider that quick?
Okay, the first messages came on the 18th. She didn't receive any on the 19th or 20th. The rest of the messages came on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. So really, it was only 4 days.
5 days.
5 days, when we reported the messages.
In Mrs. Anderson's statement, she stated that you two collected evidence on these chat rooms. Is that why you waited so long? You were collecting evidence?
I'm not saying we was collecting evidence because the person that was doing it obviously was setting their self up. All we did was print out the chat room messages and took with us the chat room messages and my diary. So
You collected evidence?
if that's what you want to say, yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to approach the witness. Can you explain?
Those are my
Objection,
daily-
Your Honor, the foundation of that has not been established.
Those are my daily diary excerpts.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to enter this into evidence.
You want to introduce evidence at this point?
Yes. If this as evidence.
There's consequences to do that, you understand, right?
What?
That constitutes putting on evidence.
Yes.
Okay. Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Let me see. Okay, admitted without objection.
Okay, Ms. Edwards, in your diary on the October 25th, you write, heard from campus police, questioning Williams, all lowercase, no punctuation at the end. And then on the 26th, the very next day, you say, Williams arrested, all caps, exclamation point at the end. So were you excited that she was arrested?
Yes, but not because she was Kinsley Williams. I mean, I was excited someone was arrested because my friend, my best friend / roommate, was getting these threatening messages for someone. So regardless of who it was, I was excited because the messages had stopped and someone had been arrested.
You weren't excited because you had collected evidence all this time and you'd finally busted who you wanted.
No.
So how does it feel to be taken out of context? How does it
Objection,
feel to
Your
have
Honor,
your-
speculation.
Withdrawn. No further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You come down, guard next witness.
The state would like to call Jamie Anderson.
Place your left hand on the Bible. I raise my right. You swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, the whole truth, so help you God.
Please state your name for the record.
Jamie Anderson.
And what do you do, Jamie?
I'm a full-time student at Magnolia University, and
Speak up just a little bit, Jamie.
I have a part-time job at the student union.
And how far along are you in college?
I'm a junior now.
Do you live on campus?
I do, yes, in Rutledge Hall on the second floor.
Do you like living in that dorm?
I do. Last year, it kind of became like home to me. I met a lot of friends, made a lot of friends, and so for this next year, I requested to live there again.
And who are your friends?
I have many friends, but I'm mostly close with my roommate.
And who's your roommate?
Shelby Edwards.
How close would you say you and Shelby are?
Well, I've known her since high school, and we've lived together for 3 years now, so she's my best friend.
And what do you and Shelby do for fun?
You know, like the typical girl things. We'll do our hair, makeup, go see movies, get lunch, but of course we study together and we do homework together.
And what kind of student would you describe yourself as?
I'm a really good student. I always get my homework done on time. I stay on top of my assignments, and if I do miss a class or something, I make sure that I get my assignments done.
So how did you stay on top of assignments?
I use a planner, and then I also use the online chat room.
There is a chat room.
Yes, there is.
And what is the purpose of this chat room?
It's for students to go on and talk about, school events or school assignments or anything Magnolia University was.
So why did you first log on to the chat room?
We were required to log on for class registration.
And did you use the chat room often before?
No, just unless I needed to get an assignment.
So why did you start using the chat room?
I missed my English class, and so I wanted to see if anyone had the assignment that was given out that day.
Did you use the chat room anymore after that?
Yeah, someone responded back to me and actually had the missing assignment that I needed, so I decided to keep using it since I had such a good experience the first time.
And have you ever had any bad experiences with the chat room?
I started to, yes.
How?
There was threatening messages that were directed towards me.
Objection, speculation.
Overruled.
And how did you know that they were directed towards you?
They referenced my nickname, The Jam, which is also my username.
So, what were the first messages, or disturbing messages that you
Objection,
received?
compound question.
Go ahead and ask the question.
What were the first messages about that you received?
They referenced to where I lived.
Okay. Your Honor, can I approach the witness?
Yes, ma'am.
The chat room exhibits. And also her statement. I would like to introduce exhibits 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11.
They're already in.
And 11. 11.
Good job.
So, Jamie, do you know what's in your hand?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
These are their conversations from the online chat room.
And is Jammin' at Mongolia your username?
Yes, it is.
What were the usernames that were sending you threatening messages?
Fatal Flaw 2006 and Shockwave.
Do you know who those two accounts are?
The police told me that Kinsley Williams' name was registered to both of those accounts.
Do you know Miss Williams prior to?
Yes, we had a psychology class together our sophomore year.
And what is your impression about Miss Williams?
Objection, character is not an issue here.
Overruled.
Have you ever had any altercations with Miss Williams?
I have, yes.
And what happened then? Or when was that, excuse me, when was that?
There was an incident at the student union. One day, Shelby and I decided to go get coffee. And as we were coming around the corner, I noticed Kinsley, and I immediately grabbed Shelby by the arm, and I turned around. I looked over my shoulder, and I saw Kinsley pointing and laughing at us and saying, "There goes Jammin' at Magnolia and the Jam."
Okay, and this was your sophomore year?
It was.
Okay. Back to the chat rooms. On exhibit 7, I believe it's 7, could you please read the highlighted portions along with the usernames for me?
Would you like me to say the date too?
Yes, say the usernames and the date starting at Jammin' at Mongolia at 5:11.
Monday, October 18th. Jammin' at Magnolia at 5:11 p.m. I'm going out now. Get some PM sunshine and exercise. Fatal Flaw 2006 at 5:11 p.m. Jam's in the window. Exercise all you want, my friend. You won't be able to run fast enough.
Okay, stop there. Was this the first messages that you were talking about?
Yes.
And what was the window that Fatal Flaw 2006 was referring to?
I believe the window in my dorm room, or that night I was, messing around doing some jumping jacks, kind of exercising. I didn't think anyone could see me since I live on the second floor, and Shelby and I don't have a curtain hanging up because we live on the second floor.
Okay, and can you please skip down to your comment at 5:13 later, a few minutes?
Jammin' at Magnolia at 5:13 p.m. Not in the team. Jammin' at Magnolia exits chat room at 5:13 p.m. Fatal Flaw 2006 at 5:14 p.m. Not in the team, but practice nonetheless in the window.
Okay, thank you, stop there. Did you know that you were being watched?
No, I didn't.
Objection, leading.
Overruled.
And can you please switch to, I believe it's Exhibit 8, and read Shockwave's comment at 3:25 p.m.
Shockwave at 3:25 p.m. Speaking of color, Jammin's been seen wearing school colors all week. Think blood won't show on those dark colors?
Were you wearing dark colors that week?
I was.
And why?
Since I work in the student union, we were promoting school clothing that week, so we were all wearing clothing items from the store.
How did you react to what you perceive as these threatening messages?
At first, I didn't really think much of it. I thought maybe some of my friends were just messing with me, trying to play a prank on me, and so I was just kind of shrugging it off and letting it go, I guess.
Okay, and on Exhibit, should be 9, can you read Shockwave's comment at 9:45 a.m.?
Shockwave at 9:45 a.m. Jammin', can you come out of your second floor roost and play?
Did you put anything on social media sites or anywhere else that would allow other people to know where you were at?
No, I didn't.
And were there any more instances where you were called out referencing your nickname?
Yes.
Would looking at the online chat rooms help you in your testimony?
Yes.
So can you tell me any other times that you were called out by the 2 accounts that Ms. Williams has?
Will you restate the question?
I believe it should be on Exhibit 10.
Objection, leading.
Friday.
I'll ask a question. Can you tell me any other times when you were called out by the 2 accounts that Ms. Williams has?
On the chat room, Friday, October 22nd, Shockwave at 3 o'clock or 3:08 p.m. said, "Hey Jam, are you still there?" And I was just on the chat room. I wasn't like typing anything. I was just, seeing if anything was, just reading the conversations.
Yeah.
And then later, Shockwave also said at 3:10 p.m., "Listen good and don't respond, or respond or don't. Anticipation is what it's all about, and building fear. You never know when you'll be forced to face your greatest fear: suffocation, torture, painful, prolonged death."
So what happened after you read that?
I logged off.
And did anything else happen later that day?
Yeah, Shockwave, shortly after I logged off, said at 3:36 p.m., "Jammin' is back. Time is running out, my jammin' friend. Maybe we can meet in the alley."
So what did you do after you read that?
Again, I logged off.
And was this the last time that you were called out?
No, it wasn't.
And what do you mean by that?
I received an email
And when did you receive the email?
October 23rd.
So how many days did this go on?
4 or 5 days.
And how did you handle these 4 or 5 days?
At first, like I said, I just thought someone was pranking me and messing around with me, so I didn't really think much of it, but I didn't really sleep well. I wasn't eating well. It just kind of threw me off,
And going back to your comment on the email October 23rd, do you know who you got the email from?
No, I don't.
Would reading your statement help you to testify
Yes.
in court? Paragraph 18 of your statement. Can you please read what you said that the email said?
The email said, "FF may lose control at any time. Longs to test your control. How long will you last, my jammin' friend? If you're afraid, you better stay locked up in your second floor roost and not go out to play. You could be sorry, you could be dead."
So what did you do after you read that email?
That email is what did it for me. I couldn't take it anymore. That threatening my life like that, and I freaked out, and I had told Shelby that we needed to do something about it.
So what did you do?
We printed out all the messages. Shelby grabbed her diary, and I printed out this email that I got, and we went straight to campus security.
And what happened at the security office?
He listened to us, took everything from us, and tried to calm me down, but I was still freaking out.
And after you went to security, what did they tell you to do?
They told us not to say anything, not to mention that someone was sending these threatening messages to me, not to say that I got an email, and not to tell anyone that we came to the police.
Did anything else happen later on in that day?
Yes, after we went back to the room, they also told us, after they said not to say anything, to keep going on, which I threw a fit about. I didn't want to keep going on the chat room at all. But since they said to keep doing it, I logged on, and I still proceeded to get messages.
And what did you do then?
Every time I got a message, I would just log off.
And can you tell me when the threatening messages stopped?
As soon as Kinsley Williams was arrested.
No further questions.
Would you say that you and Kinsley have an indifference towards each other?
I wouldn't say we have an indifference. I mean, just because we had that one incident in class doesn't mean that I don't like her.
So you're basing this whole blame on a 3-letter nickname reference and a user handle that's been referenced in the chat room?
Yes.
Was your name ever put in the chat room?
No, but my nickname was.
Your 3-letter nickname?
Yes.
And your handle is how long?
Excuse
How
me?
long is your handle, your username, excuse me?
How long
How
is
many
it?
letters?
JAMMIN, so 6, and then at Magnolia University.
So 15.
Yeah.
So 3 out of the 15 letters were pulled up, and that tipped you off.
But no one else on campus is referenced to that name.
But everybody on campus knows your nickname, correct? A majority.
Yes.
Okay. And this email that you received, do you know who that's from?
No, like Shelby said, it was anonymous, and
Anonymous.
it came from the student library.
Okay, anonymous. So you don't have a clue who this is.
No.
And is it true that you're into S&M sex?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I maybe like different things with my sexual life, but
So do you like being tied up?
Your Honor, objection, what is her?
Well, her
Sexual
boyfriend-
window, no, I have anything to do.
I don't know, I'm not about to open a little bit.
I see a pattern here.
Go ahead.
So do you like being tied up?
sometimes yes.
Do you like being spanked?
No.
Okay. So would you say that you get a rush or something from being tied up?
Not in the way that I feel like you're trying to make me come
But
off
something
as.
makes you want to do it, correct?
Objection.
Overruled.
Will you restate the question?
Something drives you to want to do this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. In your statement, you say, and I quote, "Even though we were careful, we kept visiting the chat room." We, as in you and your friend Shelby.
Yes.
Am I correct? Okay. "Even though we were careful, we kept visiting the chat room. We felt like sleuths looking for some additional evidence or threats or something. We were drawn to it, even though it was freaking us out." So would you say that being drawn to this chat room gave you sort of the same feeling that being tied up does, maybe?
No, not at all. I mean, we just wanted to
But-
see if we could know who this person was that was doing this, so we could go up to them and ask them to please stop.
But they're both dangerous situations, and you keep coming back to both of them. Am I correct?
Your Honor, this is irrelevant badgering of my witness. I move to have this whole entire line of questioning stricken from the record. It's completely
This
unrelated
has to do with
anything.
her character.
There's no
Your Honor.
foundation.
Let him finish.
There's no foundation for anything here. It's completely irrelevant to anything that we're talking about. Has nothing to do with the cybercrime. It's just irrelevant badgering of my client and her sexual preferences.
Her
What do you want to say to that?
her boyfriend has laid the foundation as to her liking S&M, and as to her being into this, and this is all going to tie into how she is not actually threatened by this, but she's drawn to it. Her liking of two dangerous situations.
All right, objection's overruled.
Excuse me. Do you know what the red button is?
I do.
So you know that it's a panic button.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a panic button. It's for if students feel like there's a problem on the chat room.
Did you feel like there was a problem with the messages you were receiving?
Personally, no, like I said, I
Oh,
thought
no,
someone was
there was no
joking.
problem with any of the messages you received.
I thought
from-
someone was
from-
messing with me.
But you didn't have a problem with any of the messages. You just said you didn't have a problem with any of the messages on the chat room.
Eventually, yes.
So the red button. So why didn't you press the button that's specifically designed for problems?
Because it was only 4 or 5 days. Usually, if there's a problem, it happens for a long period of time.
You can press that at any time. Do you know that?
Yes, I know that.
No further questions.
I'm gonna reiterate, Your Honor. Jammin is your username, right?
Yes.
And Jam it kept getting referred to,
Yes.
correct? So it's pretty obvious that Jam is used in your username.
Yes.
And Fatal Flaw 2006 and Shotwave were the only ones that kept saying Jam
Yeah, they were the only 2 accounts that were saying it.
in reference to you.
Yes.
No further questions.
Anything else? Anything else?
No.
All right, thank you, come down. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's a good time for our lunch and recess. We're gonna take lunch for the next 5 minutes. Please don't discuss this matter among yourselves or with anyone else.
5 minutes, 5 minutes.
I'm really proud of you. Thank you. You didn't lose it. You were. Good job, Jay. No, it's okay. Good job. And you were proud you of it.
Yeah, I was like, I would assume. I mean, that's just the thing. I didn't. I would.
Put it in trust. That's going to right? Come on, bro. You just feel a little bit like you stay in there.
Yeah, first time though.
I mean, but do we want to do something about it? Yeah. If we were in a weak position.
But honestly, they're doing a budget.
Maybe 10 or 12. Put the one award for graduation.
Yeah, I still have.
Right?
She looked impressed.
Yeah, it was just.
Blood?
Well, the chart.
But I understand that. I'm not trying to be salty.
I told Adam not to make it an issue because they didn't sign it. But get your witnesses out. Don't spend, only spend time on the ones. It's 20 to 3, so let me get you guys going.
Is that? I mean, like, I think the longest is psychologist and
One you guys used last year.
Yeah, I just, you see how we did that?
yeah.
Don't point out the stuff that you want to.
That was great. As you see, I start getting the hands, I'm like, it's hard for me to start thinking about having a quarterback. All right, guys, go ahead and get ready. I'll judge you in this.
Is there a
There's some right there. So we'll get to you.
No. Rare. There's one.
Try. Yeah. Yeah. They have me stuck. None whatsoever.
The court is now back in session.
All right, what says the defendant?
Your Honor, we'd like to call to the witness stand Alyssa Davis.
I do.
name's Alyssa Davis.
What is your occupation?
I'm a full-time student at Magnolia University.
What is your major?
I am a Justice Studies major, and I also have a minor in Forensic Science.
What is your relationship with Kinsley?
We've known each other since high school, and then we also came off to college together, and we tend to have classes together every now and then, so we're really like best friends.
So would you say that you two are close, really close?
We're very close.
You know what type of person she is?
Yeah, she'll even tell you herself that she tends to be a loner, but she is very focused on her academics. She really just is a psychology major with a justice studies minor, so she really just is into that in depth and wants to help people in the future, but very caring, sincere. I'd say she's very straightforward. She, you know, can be quiet, but she'll always give you her honest opinion, so very good person.
You said that you and Miss Williams have classes together, correct?
We do. That's just because of core classes and our similarities in justice studies, but particularly we had a class together our sophomore year. It was a psychology class, introductory, and that's kind of, I guess, the only time that I've seen a relationship or something happen between Kinsley and Jamie. Kinsley chose to do a presentation. We had a few topics given by the instructor, but we could also pick different things. Kinsley chose to do one on Jack the Ripper, and very informative, but I guess maybe Jamie found it offensive and she left the class. But.
Were there any other incidents with Ms. Anderson and Kinsley?
The only other time that I've ever seen an interaction between the two was at the student union, and pretty much I was just sitting with Kinsley and a few other friends. We saw Jamie and Shelby start to come around the corner, but Jamie jerked Shelby back really quickly. So that caught our attention just because it was kind of, you know, noticeable. But then Kinsley kind of said something, oh, you know, that's the jam, because we were trying to laugh it off because it was kind of odd, and they just took off, so.
Has Kinsley ever talked to you about Mrs. Anderson?
We've never held conversation about her.
So to your knowledge, Ms. Williams doesn't have any negative feelings
No, I would not say she's never expressed any negative feelings to me.
Okay. So from this, do you think that, in your opinion, do you think that Kinsley would be capable of this cyber stalking she's accused of?
Objection, speculation.
Have you been cyber stalked?
No, I haven't.
Objection, relevancy.
She's asked the question, so, okay.
What is cyber stalking, to your knowledge?
I'm not an expert in it, but I would assume that.
Objection, Your Honor, she's not an expert. She.
Okay.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Yes. To your knowledge, has Kinsley Williams ever expressed interest in Jamie Anderson?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Were you with Kingsley? You said that you were with Kingsley Williams during the incident in the student union, correct?
I was.
Did you notice Kingsley Williams verbally tease Jamie Anderson on that day?
I wouldn't say that it was extremely teasing. She did reference her nickname.
In your statement, you noted that Kingsley made fun of her. Would you consider this was not verbal teasing?
Yeah, I mean, made fun of her, but it wasn't like she was teasing her loudly enough for everyone in the room to be involved. It was just a comment made between our...
If it was a comment just made between you, how did Jamie Anderson hear it?
I don't know specifically that she heard it. I just know that she left, so...
And did Kingsley Williams ever tell you why she verbally teased Jamie Anderson?
No, we never spoke further on it.
Okay, and have you ever used the Magnolia University chat room?
Well, we all have to when we go to register for classes and everything, but I'm not commonly on this chat room.
So you don't know what type of conversations take place in the chat room?
No.
If you haven't been in the chat room, how do you know about the conversations that took place between Jamie Anderson and Kingsley Williams?
I've never stated that I was necessarily familiar with them. I just know that.
Well, in
in
your
this case-
statement, you do say that you find that these conversations are funny and that you don't find them threatening. But you're saying that you never read the conversations?
I didn't say that I've never read the conversations. It's just that I'm not familiar with complete conversation back and forth between the two. I was not familiar with this until after the fact, and we don't even know that this is between Kingsley and Jamie. It's just been said.
But
So,
you do know that those were Kingsley Williams' usernames, correct?
I know of the one that she's been using.
Right, but those are both registered to her. And since you said that you're not very familiar with these, how could you pass an assessment as you state here in the copy I have of your statement that you don't think these are threatening
Objection, Your Honor.
messages?
Let him finish the question.
Oh,
Don't answer the
oh.
question, let him finish.
If you're not familiar with the statements, how could you say that you do not find these to be threatening?
What's your objection?
It was a confusing question at the start.
Okay.
I apologize.
Confused? Can you answer the question?
You're asking whether I find them threatening?
No, I'm just referencing your statement
Mhm.
where you say, after reading, I do not find these to be threatening messages, but you just told me that you're not very familiar with these messages. And this was a statement taken by the police. So I'm just wondering what would be the actual version.
The actual version would be, I mean, the statement, I've seen the messages that are allegedly between the two in this case, and I don't think that the messages are threatening, but do I know that they're specifically between the two people? I can't say that.
No further questions.
No.
Redirect, Your Honor.
Redirect?
No, sir. No, Your Honor.
Okay, call your next witness.
Your Honor, we'd like to call Lauren Albert to the stand.
Place your left hand on the Bible, right hand on the right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Could you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Dr. Lauren Albert.
And Dr. Lauren Albert, what do you do for a living?
I am a professor at Magnolia University.
And what kind of professor are you?
I'm a professor in computer science,
And how long have you been a computer science professor?
about 10 years.
What's your educational background?
I have a master's and a bachelor's in computer science from Magnolia. And I actually have a PhD from Stanford University.
Do you have any other special qualifications?
Yes, in extensive network security and cyber profiling.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to qualify my witness as an expert in cyber profiling.
Says the state.
Objection, Your Honor. The witness has only stated that she has training in cybersecurity, cyber profiling.
She stated network security and cyber profiling.
Would you mind if she elaborates on what type of experience she has?
Okay.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
Would you mind if she elaborates on what type of experience she has in that field?
Could you elaborate on what you do within cyber profiling?
Yes, basically I took a class during my master's program which I had to help identify a cyber stalker or a cyber bully. So that's my qualification.
Your Honor, I'd like to qualify her as a cyber
I
profiler.
object, Your Honor. We do not believe that's sufficient qualification to be considered an
Or
expert.
dear her?
I beg your pardon?
You want to ask questions?
Well,
Your,
sure.
Your Honor, we've already heard expert testimony from a cybercrime analysis and computer forensics expert, and she has nowhere near the
Okay, send the jury out. Jury's out.
You guys can say, you want
Stay
to
you're out. Now, she's not testified about whether she's ever testified or not before. Well, your witness didn't testify about that either. And he didn't object to your witness being qualified, so I don't understand how you're objecting to his.
Well,
I'm sorry?
we stricken our objection.
Well, don't just roll over because I'm.
Well,
I mean,
Your
I
Honor.
think your point is well made, but have you ever testified before as an expert witness?
No, I have not.
Okay. All right. My discretion, I'll allow her to testify as an expert. Bring the jury back in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the court is going to allow this witness to offer an opinion in the area of cyber stalking.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, what do you do as a computer science professor at Magnolia University?
I teach computer science, computer ethics, and advanced technology and research. And I also supervise the online chat rooms.
So you are a supervisor of the chat rooms?
Yes.
How long have you supervised the chat rooms?
Since I've been head of the department, so about 4 years.
And how often do you check these chat rooms?
At least 3 to 4 times a day.
And what type of conversations do you normally see within these chat rooms?
Basically, students use them to get class assignments, things of that nature.
Do you know Ms. Williams?
Yes, she's one of my students.
What type of student would you say that she is?
She's very intelligent, interesting, but she's an overall great student.
Do you understand why you're here today?
Yes, my student, Kinsley, has been accused of cyber stalking.
Now, as a computer science professor, could you define what cyber stalking is?
It's the use of electronic communication to continuously harass a victim.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Sure.
Going to have them read. Your Honor, I'm reintroducing to the court prosecution exhibit E. I don't know what the marking is on this one, but the original says E.
Okay.
Could you explain to me what this is?
These are the chat room messages that I reviewed.
So you have reviewed them?
Yes, I have.
Will they help you within your testimony?
Yes.
All right. Could you please read the highlighted portion provided?
Yes, this is by Shockwave at 2:54 p.m. Some criminals use fear as a control. Fear is stronger than chains and fences.
Would you say that that message was threatening?
No, not at all.
Would you say that message could be taken out of context?
Yes, it could.
Now, Dr. Albert, would you say that, or excuse me, do you have any features within the chat room to prevent any kind of threatening communication?
Yes, I do. It was my decision to come up with the red button.
And what is this red button?
It's a button to be pressed if students feel alarmed or threatened during the chat room.
Has this red button ever been pushed?
No.
Not at all.
No.
So since the red button has not been pushed, what does that tell you?
That students at Magnolia have not felt threatened enough in the chat room.
No more questions, Your Honor.
I'll wait over there.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start.
Ms. Albert, in your statement, you've mentioned that students need to adhere to rules and guidelines set forth by the university and any individual professors. Can you recall what these guidelines say in relation to offensive language?
Yes, any threatening messages or anything in that nature, like it will be a fraction of the school rules if violated.
And who determines what is threatening language?
Mr. Pat Clifford.
Your Honor, the question actually goes outside the scope of
Yeah.
the direct.
That's allowed.
Yeah, you're right. That's allowed.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I need help sometimes.
Where in your statement or the regulations does it say that Mr. Clifford is responsible for setting that standard?
It's not, but he is in charge of that.
Okay, and do you recall what the rules of the online chat room usage policy states about confidentiality?
Yes.
Would you mind refreshing?
The confidentiality states that any messages or whatever are in between the staff, not to be carried out of the staff.
I was actually referring to confidentiality in credentials and students encouraging to maintain strict levels of secrecy. These are the guidelines that you.
Can I see the policy to refresh my memory, please?
Excuse me, Your Honor, may I please approach the
Yes.
witness? Please mind reading the highlight.
Student users of Magnolia University online chat room are encouraged to maintain strict levels of secrecy and confidentiality to guard their personal information.
Thank you.
Yes.
Were you at any time aware of breaches to this policy?
Yes.
Would you mind elaborating?
Can you restate the question?
Were you at any time aware of breaches to this particular element of the online chat room usage policy?
Objection, Your Honor. It's irrelevant to the case.
Overruled.
No, I haven't.
Well, in your statement, would it actually help you testifying if you had a copy of your statement?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I please approach the witness?
Yes, sir.
Would you please mind reading lane 9?
9. The whole thing?
Sorry, paragraph 9.
Okay.
Go.
I am concerned that there may be some unauthorized use of a student's password based on our records. One of the alleged offensive statements occurred on Friday, October the 22nd. Between the entries, anticipation is what it's all about and building fear. You never know when you'll be forced to face your greatest fear, suffocation, torture, painful, prolonged death. And time is running out, my German friend. Maybe we can meet in the alley. There is a 20-minute break or lapse in discussion. Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did that help you refresh your memory about the breach I was referring to?
Yes.
Okay. Did you take any actions regarding this breach?
No, because I don't believe that Kinsley was there.
Oh, I was referring to breach on the secrecy
Oh.
policy.
No, I did not.
Is it not your responsibility to enforce this policy?
Yes.
Okay. Also, in your statement, you mentioned that the safety of the students in the chat room is one of your responsibilities.
Yes.
How are you ensuring Jamie Anderson's safety between October 18 and October the 23rd?
I was supervising her chat rooms, but I was on and off campus for family wedding plans, but somebody was supervising the chat room while I was absent.
And you said you were supervising on and off?
Yes.
Well, in your statement here, it reads that you were not logging into the chat rooms because you were out the entire week. Were you logging in from somewhere else?
I was on and off campus. I was out for the entire week. I never said that in my statement.
Right, but you're, well, actually here it said, would you like me to?
Yeah, I never said that in my statement.
Sure. Your Honor, may I please approach the witness again? Would you mind reading paragraph 7?
Yes. Unfortunately, on the week that the alleged cyber stalking took place on the Magnolia University chat room, I was on and off campus taking care of wedding plans and was not checking the chat room conversations.
Thank you. So, in other words, you were not supervising the chat room conversations, correct?
No, I wasn't, but
Okay.
somebody from my staff was.
And who in your staff was supervising the conversations?
He is not here today, but I can give you a name.
No, that's okay. Did the person in your staff ever raise a red flag about these conversations? Did you not find them interesting or odd?
We didn't have a problem with them, so we didn't find anything threatening.
So it's routine that students talk about death in this chat room?
Not really, but we didn't find anything threatening about it, so.
And since you were absent, are there any procedures to ensure somebody else covers that responsibility?
Restate the question.
Since you were absent, are there any procedures to ensure somebody else covers that responsibility?
Yes, when I'm absent, there has to be a tech member supervising the chat rooms while I'm gone.
Do you get reported on this?
Yes,
So if you're reported on this activity, why didn't you raise a red flag about
I was
this?
aware of it, but I was on and off campus, but I did supervise the chat rooms. Like, I looked over them.
But you
when
just
I came
mentioned,
back.
you just mentioned that Pat Clifford is responsible for setting the standards of what is considered threatening,
Yes, he was. Yes, he is.
but he considers these statements threatening, but you're telling me that you
Objection, Your Honor,
don't.
speculation. He cannot
He
tell
can't
whether or not
tell what Pat Clifford
my
has
witness
said.
considers threatening.
But she just says she doesn't consider them threatening.
But you just stated, Your Honor, the counsel
Alright,
just,
send the jury out. Jury's out.
the counsel just stated that a witness that hasn't even been up here yet.
It's relevant
Yes.
testimony, it's gonna be,
But he
it's in
doesn't,
its one statement.
he doesn't
Doesn't
know.
Are you gonna present a sworn statement?
Yes,
Is
sir.
he present?
Pat
Yes,
Clifford
he is present.
testified, Pat Clifford
Are y'all
testified.
gonna put him on, or is our
We are.
defense
That's
attorney?
our witness.
We can't speculate as to what our witness believes.
All right, you can question her about the statement. This is her employee, right?
Right.
You can question her about the statement that the employee made in anticipation of the employee coming and testifying. All right, bring the jury back in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna allow the question. Go ahead.
Okay, let me just rephrase that question then. So your employee is in charge of setting these guidelines, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So also, in your statement, you reference a 20-minute break lapse in the conversation that took place in the chat room on October 22nd.
Yes.
Shouldn't that have been logged on the chat room excerpts that you provided to the Mockingbird Police Department?
I don't think it should have been logged.
But your chat room system logs every entry and exit. And would you mind telling me why that logout from from the username Shockwave is not logged in the excerpts?
It is logged in, but I know she didn't do it because I was looking at her and she was interviewing another student. So it was not her.
Right, but it doesn't appear here. Was that omitted from evidence?
I have no idea about the evidence.
But you are the head of the department, correct?
Yeah.
And your department provided the Mockingbird County Police Department with this evidence, correct?
I don't understand your question. I really don't. Like, I don't understand where you're trying to get at or anything.
Okay,
like that.
just let me restate that, perhaps.
Okay, don't worry about where he's trying to get at. Just answer his questions as best you can.
Okay.
So again, your department provided the evidence with the chat room excerpts to the police department, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you're saying that the logout should have been recorded in the chat excerpts, correct?
Yes.
Why was it not?
From my knowledge, it was.
Your Honor, may I please approach the witness?
Sure.
Oh, yes, this other part you can enter. Would you mind showing me when on October the 22nd is that logout of Shockwave?
I don't see a logout.
There's no logout in the record?
No.
Okay, so she did not log out?
No, but she was not on her thing. Somebody else was, well, it could have been somebody else on her thing because I actually saw her from that time.
But you just stated that she logged out.
Objection, Your Honor. Nobody knows where this is going.
Yeah,
What's
I'm
going
like-
on?
What is the relevancy?
He's impeaching your witness.
Your Honor, logout logs were not provided as part of my commentary, and that is what is causing the confusion.
Okay, move on. Motion overruled.
Okay, one last point. In your statement, you mentioned you were able to call attention to a breach similar to what has occurred in this instance. How did you spot that breach?
What are you referring to?
Your Honor, please approach the witness.
One last time.
One last time. Would you mind reading paragraph 10?
Okay. An unauthorized use, if indeed that is what happened in this situation, it is a serious infraction of the campus rules. A year ago, the university experienced an online prank when a student, I'll call John, left a computer workstation without logging off and protecting his email account. You want to read the whole thing?
Please continue.
The next student who sat down at the station realized that he had the opportunity to prank the student named John and sent out a rather innocent message to the chat room that indicated that John was madly in love with Marcia. This.
Yes, I'll be right there.
Okay.
How did you spot the security breach?
What do you mean by the security breach?
You just read it, that someone was using someone else's username and password, correct?
Yes.
This is a security breach, correct? How did you spot it?
Well, I knew that because I was informed by John that somebody had left and logged on to his name, and it was an online prank, so.
All right, thank you. No further questions.
Anything else?
Redirect.
Sure, go ahead.
So during your time of absence, you had one of your employees monitor the chat room, correct?
Yes.
And then once you came back, you actually reviewed all the logs, correct?
Yes.
And you didn't find anything threatening?
No, I didn't.
No further questions.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Come down.
Your Honor, we'd like to call to the witness stand Pat Clifford. Can you state your name for the record, please?
Pat Clifford.
All right. Mr. Clifford, what is your occupation?
I work at Magnolia University as a webmaster in the computer technology lab and part-time as a cyber angel.
What is your educational background?
I have a bachelor's of science in computer information systems with a concentration in web design from NC State University.
Do you possess any additional certifications?
Yes, I have additional certifications in web design and software coding, HTML5, CSS, and Network Plus.
And how long have you worked at Magnolia University?
Going on 12 years.
Could you tell me what a cyber angel is?
Cyber angels are is a group of volunteer watchdog agency that works with the law enforcement to combat and monitor cyberbullying, cyber terrorism, and they offer seminars for the public to educate them and train them on how to protect themselves and how to turn in individuals that are predators. Myself, as a cyber angel, I usually respond to victim emails to the cyber stalker or cyber terrorist.
And what does a webmaster do?
A webmaster is responsible for monitoring, developing, and troubleshooting the performance of websites, more or less maintain their efficiency.
And how long have you been a cyber angel?
Roughly 10 years.
And how many chat rooms have you managed in your career?
I've managed 6 individual chat rooms, but 4 of those I designed and developed myself.
Were you the person responsible for developing the chat room for Magnolia University?
Yes, I was. I took a basic chat room platform and inlaid the coding features that the school and the IT department wanted to install in there: web filtering, content filtering, which is the Sharp program, and the red button feature as well.
So there are security features for screening out offensive words on the Magnolia University chat room?
Yes. The school wanted to ensure that there were security features put in place to maintain the security of the information systems and to protect the individual students. However, I don't feel that the program that the school purchased is sophisticated enough to handle all offensive words.
And why do you say that?
The dictionary of words, or AKA the blacklist, consists of millions of words and phrases. The one, well, I'll give you some examples. Kill you, stab you, murder you are some of the most predominant threatening messages that we associate with. And the program that the school purchased is more focused on the content, malicious content, instead of the offensive words. So I feel it's more focused towards protecting the information system than it is protecting the individual students. This is why the red button feature is there predominantly for the individual student.
And has the content filter ever filtered any threatening messages?
Yes. Well, actually, no. I'll rephrase that. It has never filtered any direct threats. It has filtered words, but they were used out of context. The example that comes to my mind was one student communicating with another student, stating that if he continued doing whatever he was doing, that his parents were going to murder him. We let that one by.
So what is the initial purpose of the chat room?
The initial purpose of the chat room was for an extension of the classroom for the teachers, so they could pose challenging questions and the students could expound upon it outside of the classroom.
And how is it being used now?
Now it is 99% driven by the students. Very rarely do the faculty members ever get on there unless they're assigned monitoring duties.
You previously mentioned the red button. Could you explain further on what that is?
The red button is a security feature to compensate for the lack of content screening that the SHARP program provided. It allows a student to immediately report any abuses of the chat room, or if there's any offensive language that is not being screened by the SHARP program. All the student has to do is click on the big red button on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. A small window will pop up. It'll ask the student's information, their name, their username. It'll ask the date and time of the incident, the type of incident, the details of the incident, and the severity of that incident, ranging from 1 to 5. 1 being less severe or threatening to 5 being severely threatening.
And has any student ever pushed this red button?
No, since it was installed, no student or faculty member has ever pushed the red button.
Well, are you sure this red button actually works?
Yes, I am sure. We conduct quarterly audits on all of our operating systems, and nothing has ever popped up with the red button.
Mr. Clifford, have you read the chat messages that are in question today?
Yes. Whenever the security came to me wanting the printouts of those times, I read them during that time.
And after reading them, did you find them threatening?
Objection, Your Honor.
Contextually, I could perceive them vaguely being threatening, but not enough to warrant all this fuss, and definitely not enough to warrant accusation.
Do you know Ms. Jamie Anderson?
No, I do not. Prior to her reporting the incident, I'd never even heard her name.
Do you know Ms. Kinsley Williams?
Yes. She had an appointment with me on the 22nd of October at 4 p.m. She was interviewing me regarding the use of internet to combat terrorism.
And when did Ms. Williams arrive to your office?
Approximately 3:40 p.m.
And when did she leave?
Roughly about 4:45 p.m.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd just like to reintroduce to the court Exhibit E. Do you recognize this?
Yes, this is the chat room.
And you've read this before?
Yes, I have seen this before.
And will it help you in your testimony?
Yes, sir.
All right. Could you please read the highlighted portion provided?
Shockwave, 3:36 p.m. This is on Friday, October 22nd. Jamming is back. Time is running out. My jamming friend, maybe we can meet in the alley.
What time was that posted?
This was posted at 3:36 p.m.
And what time did she arrive at your office?
3:40 p.m.
So is there any possibility that she could have written that message?
Unless she could be at 2 places at one time, I highly doubt it.
No further questions, Your Honor. Your Honor, may I approach one last time just to receive the...
Wait till they get through.
Mr. Clifford, were any of the messages directed towards Shammy flare-up in your filtering software?
They were being filtered, yes. The filtering program is always running.
And would you say that your technology for the SHARP program is efficient?
Sufficient? In what
Efficient.
context?
Does it work?
It
Good.
works, yes.
Efficiently, good.
Like I said, it's not sophisticated enough to handle all the offensive words that are millions of words. No, I mean, the words that we use every day, it's not sophisticated enough to handle that type of load. That's why we have the red button and we have the monitor as well.
Okay. And So you're saying that your technology designed to protect students is not efficient enough to protect these students?
Repeat the question?
You're saying that your technology designed in order to protect students is not efficient enough to protect your students?
The content filtering, the Sharp program is not sophisticated enough to handle all the words.
Okay. So in order to protect your students, you let a handful of professors decide what's right and wrong?
They are to monitor any additional words that might pop up that the screening might not screen out. And in addition, you also have the red button there. That way, if the individual does feel threatened, they can report it immediately.
But if the individual does not press the red button, there is professors there to supervise the chat rooms, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And does it say anywhere in the policy about the discretion of the professors and staff, that the rules are in the discretion of the professors and staff?
I can't recall right off.
Okay. Well, Your Honor, can I approach the witness? Do you recognize this?
Yes. This is the Magnolia University Student Online Chat Room Usage Policy.
And now can you tell me anywhere where it states about the discretion of the staff?
No, I don't believe it does.
So, if your technology is not smart enough to catch the phrases, and in the policy, it states
Objection,
that
compound question.
and in the policy, it never states that the staff is there, how do your students feel safe?
I can't answer that question.
Would
I would
you-
only be speculating.
Okay. Would you find any of the messages sent as threatening?
Like I said, they could be perceived as vaguely threatening, yes. There's not any direct threats to her life.
But you do believe that they could be perceived as threatening as
Vaguely
well?
threatening, yes.
Okay, no further questions.
Redirect, Your Honor. You do mention that they could be perceived as vaguely threatening, correct?
Absolutely.
However, these messages that are in question today are not threatening in any way. Am I correct?
Not to warrant all this fuss and to warrant the allegations of cyber stalking, no.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Can I?
No, Your Honor, out of time, we need to go on. We have more witnesses that we've got to get.
Your Honor, we'd like to call to the stand Mr. Holden.
Yeah, you can just go ahead. Witness, go ahead.
You state your name for the record?
My name is Holden Bracewell.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a full-time college student, and I do an extensive amount of blogging, chat room type of things, a lot of internet activity.
Okay. What is it like being a blogger?
Sometimes it can be boring. Sometimes it can be eventful, depending on what's going on at the time. Occasionally, you'll have like it's kind of like conversations. They can be either vague or they can be hilarious.
How long would you say you've been involved in this?
Probably since the internet came out.
How many threads, just rough number, what do you think you've done?
Thousands over the years.
And have you ever read any blogs or posts or forum discussions that would that would erupt in threats?
Oh yeah. I've had some happen to me. I've seen it happen to other people. I've also done it to other people. The threats can threaten your property, your personal well-being, your posterity, your grandmother, your rainy sunshine day. The threats can be vague or they can be explicit in what they're pertaining to.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Your Honor, this is already been introduced.
Okay.
it's the chat room law. Could you read this one right here, the highlighted?
Out of Exhibit C, we have Fatal Flaw 2006 at 5:11 p.m. Jams in the window. Exercise all you want, my friend. You won't be able to run fast enough.
Okay, there's one more. This one right here.
Which one?
This one, yes, sir.
Yep. We have Shockwave at 3:25 p.m. Speaking of color, Jammin's been seen wearing school colors all week. Think blood won't show on his dark colors.
Thank you. Would you say that these messages are threatening from what you've seen?
I don't think that they're threatening. I think they could be perceived threatening. I do, however, think that it is a very creative form of what's called trolling.
Could you maybe explain a little more on trolling?
I like to think of trolling as fishing. Basically, you throw out a line, you've got some bait on the end, and you're going to see who you can get to bite in there. You can get a shark, which can bite back, or you can get a goldfish, which is just going to flop around and allow you to continue your trolling.
Would you say that, what inferences could you make from these messages that you just read?
Are you asking if it's trolling?
He's asking the witness to speculate.
Would you say that these messages are considered trollish?
I would consider them trolling, yes.
Okay. Since you read these messages, how serious do you think they are?
I don't think they're serious. I think it's a very creative play on words to try and aggravate the person. It also could be unintentional trolling. There is such a thing as unintentional trolling. You say something, somebody becomes offended, and it just carries on from there because that person is just sunk in. I believe, actually, from testimony I heard earlier, that the girls actually kept going back and checking the chat rooms even before they were instructed to. That would lead me to believe that they were sunk in to...
Objection, Your Honor. The witness is
In my opinion, it leads me to believe that they were hooked into it and they just wanted to, keep going. As I said, in my opinion, it resulted in an unintentional trolling.
So, Your Honor, for the sake of time here today, the state is willing to see, if the defense counsel is willing to see, that this blogger is going to testify that there is no threatening messages.
One more.
Okay.
I'll be done.
That's fine.
Do you believe these messages could be taken out of context?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
No further.
In my opinion, they can be.
No further questions.
You stated that you regularly threaten people in your blog, correct?
I didn't say I regularly threaten. That's your words, not mine.
But it is in your statement where you have sent and received.
And does it say regularly? Because I do remember my statement, and it does not say that.
Well, how many threats would you say have you sent?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevancy.
Overrule.
Please answer the question.
To be honest, I couldn't tell you. It's not something I keep a tally mark of, as it's not anything that's prideful.
Okay, and when, if ever, have you logged in to the Magnolia University chat room?
I haven't. I didn't declare I was a student there.
When, if ever, have you logged into any chat room?
It's already been declared that I use chat rooms and blogs quite frequently.
Well, you discussed blogs.
You can call it a blog, a chat room. It's all dependent on what your personal discretion is of what they are. Facebook, primary example. It can be a blog, a chat room, instant messenger, email
Objection,
system.
Your Honor. He's offering his
question.
opinion.
I'm answering your question, sir.
I am objecting to his answer, not to my question. Okay. When, if ever, have you received any training in cybersecurity?
I've never declared that I have, so I wouldn't have. But I am studying criminal justice and forensic science. We do discuss it frequently, especially in my litigation classes.
And having studied criminal justice, how would you say that fits into your profile of threatening people over a blog?
It's a blog. I mean, it can be taken out of content. And like I said, you can troll people. Trolling isn't always necessarily the truth. It could be, if you want to use a light word for it, even though it sometimes isn't, it could be a joke.
No further questions, thank you.
No redirect, Your Honor. All right, Your Honor, we'd like to call to the witness Ms. Kinsley Williams.
Place your left hand on the Bible. Place your left hand on the Bible. Right hand in there. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
I do.
Can you state your name for the record?
My name is Kinsley Williams.
What is your occupation?
I'm a full-time student at Magnolia University.
You can speak up just a little bit.
What is your major?
I'm a psychology major with a minor in law enforcement.
Why did you choose this major?
I chose my major because I'm really interested in helping victims of post-traumatic stress disorder.
Why are you here today?
I've been accused of cyber stalking.
What is the environment like in your psychology classes?
Well, in the upper level classes, we all kind of have an understanding of the material that's being discussed and a general interest. But sometimes in the general psychology classes, because there's a mix of all kinds of majors, some of the things that we discuss aren't always well received.
So there has been some uneasy feelings in some of your classes.
Yes.
Has there ever been any incidents with Mrs. Anderson?
Last year, we took a general psychology class together, and we had to do a project, and I decided I wanted to do mine on Jack the Ripper, who is a well-known serial killer. And I guess she couldn't handle my presentation, and she walked out of the room.
So what do you think could have made that happen, made her act that way?
Objection, Your Honor. She's asking the witness to speculate.
Do you use the online chat room provided by the university?
Yes, I do. I like to use it to get some of my academic thoughts out there outside of the classroom, just try to start a conversation.
What is your username for the chat room?
I used to use Fatal Flaw 2006, but I got a new username at the end of last year, which is Shockwave.
So does everybody know that Miss Anderson's nickname is the Jam?
Most people on campus do, yes.
Have there been any incidents at the student union, as stated previously?
Yeah, I was up there with some of my friends, just hanging out, and Jamie and Shelby came up, and when they saw us, they kind of jerked back and started basically running away. It was kind of strange.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain what I'm holding here?
This looks like the chat room logs.
Okay. And can you read the message from that day on the 3:10 p.m. should be? October
Shockwave.
22nd.
Listen good and respond or don't. Anticipation is what it's all about, and building fear. You never know when you'll be forced to face your greatest fear: suffocation, torture, painful, prolonged death.
What did you mean by this message?
When I wrote this, it was something that I had been looking at for my academics. I kind of thought about it as like when you go to the dentist and you're waiting to get work done and you're sitting in there and you know it's going to be painful, and the anticipation is kind of what makes everything worse. It's not the actual happening. I just kind of wanted to start a conversation and see what my classmates might have thought of it.
Would you say this message could be taken out of context?
I suppose, if you're looking for it to be threatening.
Could you read the next message? It's going to be at, it's by Shockwave at 3:36 p.m. on the same day.
Jammin' is back. Time is running out, my jammin' friend. Maybe we can meet in the alley.
Did you write that message?
No, I did not.
Where were you during that time?
I was walking to Pat Clifford's office to meet him for an interview.
How was that message posted if you were at a meeting?
I couldn't tell you.
Are you aware of what cyber stalking is?
I'm assuming it's stalking on the internet.
Have you ever been cyber stalked yourself?
No, I have not.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Kinsley, Alyssa Davis said to you were best friends, is that correct?
Yes.
In your statement, you said you were kind of a loner.
Yes.
Do you have any other friends besides Alyssa?
I have other friends, but she's my best friend.
Well, are you a loner, or do you have...
I'm a
do you hang
loner,
out with
that
people?
doesn't mean I don't have friends.
What's that?
I'm a loner, but that doesn't mean I don't have friends. I just like to spend time to myself.
What's the nature of you and Alyssa's relationship?
We're best friends.
What do you do together?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevancy.
Overruled.
Thank you.
I mean, we hang out, we do girl things. We do each other's hair and nails and talk about boys and do homework.
You live in Rutledge Hall, the same dorm as Jamie and Shelby, correct?
Yes, I do.
Would you say, as a junior at Magnolia, you know the university fairly well?
Fairly well, yes.
Roads, courtyards, dorm rooms, library?
I suppose.
Okay. So I want to talk about something here just a second in your statement. Just a moment ago, you said that the Jack the Ripper speech that you gave in class for your report, it upset some of the students.
It upset one student.
You said some of the students under direct examination. I can have the court reporter read back to you what you said.
It may have upset them, but Jamie was the only one who decided she needed to leave.
Did you intend to
No.
disrupt?
I gave a factual presentation on Jack the Ripper. Some of the things he did may have been disturbing, but I didn't present it in a way.
So you didn't think it was funny how they acted?
I thought it was
Amusing?
strange. I thought that there was no need to run out of a classroom during a presentation.
You feel like you're above some of the students there?
No.
No. Okay. Your Honor, can I put you this?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to enter in Exhibit 3, statement.
Would you recognize that?
It's my statement.
Could you please read the top highlighted portion right here in paragraph 4 for me, please?
One of my extra credit reports in my psychology and literature class evidently freaked out some of the less challenged students.
What do you mean by less challenged students?
Please sit down.
Objection, Your Honor. Council member can have a seat.
You're fine.
Thank you.
What do you mean by less challenged students?
Well, it was an extra credit report. I take my academics very seriously, and I wanted to do something extra, and I do this in multiple classes. Less challenged, I just believe that I put forth a lot of effort into my academics. That's all that means.
Okay. Kinsley, also in your statement here,
two other...
Objection, Your Honor. The council member can have a seat right now.
You want to have read a couple more excerpts? Your Honor?
You're fine.
Thank you. You also admitted to writing two other...
Your Honor, I'd like to join my client while she's up there.
That's not fine.
Is not-
That's not fine.
Your Honor, we've had in the past where when counsel is being presented, we've allowed opposing attorney to see what he's presenting. So that is why.
Council's been made aware.
That is why counsel asked to do that.
Now, Kinsley, you also admitted in your statement to writing two of the other messages. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could you please read highlighted portion of paragraph 9 of your statement?
I'll also admit to writing the statement that read, "The clock is ticking, time is on my side, time is running out, my friend."
Okay. And paragraph 5, please.
The statement that said, "Anticipation is what it's all about," in building fear. You never know when you'll be forced to face your greatest fear: suffocation, torture, and prolonged painful death.
Thank you. Now, you think these are threatening in any way or would cause disruption, to these less challenged students that you speak of?
No, I don't. I've already explained the second one. And the first one is just the way I feel about life. Time is running out. Time is moving on. It's a metaphor.
Well, in your statement, you say you flat out deny having anything to do with two of the statements. Okay. Jams in the window, exercise all you want, my friend. You won't be able to run fast enough. And Jammin's been seen wearing school collars all week. I think blood won't show in these dark collars. They came from your registered username. So if you didn't send them, how do you deny these messages? Could you explain that for me, please?
I left my password and my username in an old book.
That's right. What's your username from this year that you have registered?
Shockwave.
Shockwave. And what was your username last year?
Fatal Flaw 2006.
Okay. Now, when school starts every semester, you usually go buy your books and get everything for that upcoming year?
Yes.
Is that right? And what do you do at the end of the semester?
Sell them back. Or keep them if you want.
Right. And you said that you turned in this forensics book,
Yes.
correct? Well, in your statement, you said that Shockwave and the password was written inside the forensics book from last year that you turned in, but under direct testimony just now, you said Shockwave was your username for this year.
I didn't
So
start
are you
using
lying
it.
now or were you lying then?
I'm lying neither.
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel is badgering my witness.
Overruled.
I created the username Shockwave at the end of last year, but I didn't use it until this year, which is how it ended up in a book that I sold back.
You just said that you registered that username this year.
You said I registered that username this year.
Okay. You said that you were not able to send another one, the second message, because you were at a meeting with Pat Clifford and Lauren Albert at 3:40 p.m.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Well, the meeting started at 4, but I got there at 3:40.
You got that at 3:40. And you said earlier that you're fairly familiar with the campus, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you know that the computer science lab is right across the street from the dorm where the message was sent, where you came from, right?
Yes.
Okay. Can I approach the witness?
Yes, sir.
Could you please read the highlighted portions there and tell me what these two buildings are on the map?
Well, building number 10 is Rutledge Hall, and building number 12 is the Computer Technology Lab.
And how wide would you say the road is in between the two buildings?
Maybe like 20 feet. I mean,
20 feet from the
Keep-
wall to the
keep your
desk?
voice up, please.
the road is 20 feet, but there's also landscape in between them.
You think you could walk 20 feet in the given landscape in 6 minutes?
I wasn't in a hurry.
You know what, you don't have to answer that. I have one last question for you. You said in your statement that someone told you that Jamie received an email from the university library they thought came from you.
Yes.
Who told you that?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does.
A
Don't
friend.
look at them, look at me. Who told you that there
Objection.
was...
Badgering the witness.
Overruled. Answer the question, ma'am.
A friend of mine did.
Who was that friend?
A mutual friend. Do you need a name?
Yes.
Ma'am, you need to know.
I don't think that name was in her statement.
It's not in the statement, Ms. Vonnegut.
Well, that is why she can't give you a name, because the
It's
name
not
was
in the
not in the
statement.
statement.
Can't make
So
up a
if
name.
you
Well-
want her to create a name, create a name.
Sally.
Sally.
Sally Mae.
Well, what I want to know is the last message, text, chat, email, blog that was in question was this email in which Jamie and Shelby were given specific instructions not to tell anyone about and testified that they did not speak it to anyone. So if no one knew that the email was sent, how could you know that there was an email sent that someone thought that came from you?
Objection, Your Honor. That was a complete compound question.
It's cross-examination, Your Honor.
But it's still
Well, Sally told me, and I can't control what Jamie and Shelby said in their statements or in their testimonies.
Were you friends with Jamie Anderson?
No.
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 You were friends with Alyssa Davis.
Yes.
And you had other friends. Why did you post on her blog if you weren't friends with Jamie Anderson?
What blog?
Your Honor, first witness. Exhibit. This is the first blog entry when Jamie Anderson started her blog, and this is your last blog entry post before you were arrested on the 26th.
What blog is this?
This is your blog and Jamie Anderson's blog.
I've never seen this before.
Is this not your name?
That's
Right
my
here?
name, but it's not my blog.
It's not your blog. Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Anything else?
I'll redirect, please. It was stated that you have to walk across a street in order to get where you were going.
Yes.
To Back Clifford, correct? Okay. Was there traffic? Was it busy?
I mean, there's always cars driving around campus.
Did it take you more time to get there than usual, like construction?
I mean, I wasn't in any hurry. I knew that I was already going to be very early for my meeting, so I was just kind of wandering there.
No further questions.
Anything else? Thank you, ma'am. Anything now? Any more witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor, just one last witness. We'd like to call to the stand Miss Alina.
You look truthful. Go ahead, sir.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Alina Evans.
And what is your occupation?
I'm a forensic psychologist.
And how long have you been a psychologist?
I've been working as a forensic psychologist for 10 years, but I have an overall career in psychology for 16 years.
Okay. And what is your educational background in psychology?
I received my PhD in psychology from the Arcadia State University.
Okay. Do you have any other special qualifications?
Well, I'm licensed to practice in the state of Arcadia. I was trained and certified in forensic interviewing, and I also have experience in student counseling.
Okay. Your Honor, I would like to qualify this witness as an expert for testimony in stalking and cyber stalking.
We would like more foundation in cyber stalking. She has described her expertise in psychology, not cyber stalking.
Okay, so what do you want me to do?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay. Could you describe your background in psychology?
I work on different kind of cases. I have to assess the profiles of the offenders, and from time to time I have cases of cyber stalkers, but more often regular stalkers.
Okay, so you've worked around stalking and cyber stalking
Yes.
before? Okay. Now, Your Honor, I'd like to qualify her as an expert witness.
Your Honor, objection. We still believe there's insufficient grounds for qualifying the witness.
Yeah,
as an
me too,
expert.
but I want to hear what she has to say.
Okay. Your Honor, can I approach the witness?
It's already been introduced, being undocumented, so it's got to go in the way he's asking. You've already put it in.
Can you explain to me what I'm holding?
Yes, this is a part of the evidence that I was given to assess. It's a chat room dialogue from Vonnegut University.
Okay, and could you read this chat right here?
Yes.
Where he is scratched out.
Travel X at 2:50 p.m. Anyone from the history and forensic class? Some pretty strange stuff in that class. Striker 8. Like what? Traveler X, 2:53 p.m. Like lots of talk about killing, really freaky. Striker 8 at 2:54. That's what's going on in class? Talk like that? Shockwave at 2:54. Some criminals use fear as a control. Fear is stronger than chains and fences. and later on shockwave at 3:03 p.m. Wonder if anyone our age would handle this situation well. Would be interesting to try and recreate the atmosphere.
Would you read that?
Yes. It would be amazing to study pain and suffering. Doctors must do it all the time. Long-term effects of suffering could produce some interesting data. Volunteers? Hey, Jem, you're still here?
Okay, so seeing that Miss Kinsley Williams is a psychology major as well, and you're an expert in psychology, what inferences could you make about this dialogue that you just read?
Well, based on the conversation that began as a discussion of the classroom topic, I would say that this is an expression of Miss Williams's academic interest.
Okay, so in your opinion, do any of these messages, or does this dialogue fit the category of cyberstalking?
No, I wouldn't say so. They don't fit a typical cyberstalking message.
Okay, and do you know Miss Williams?
No, I've never met her in person before, until today.
Okay, and from reading the messages that you just read and the overall, the whole conversation that you read earlier, and seeing Miss Williams here in court today, does she display any of the symptoms of a cyberstalker?
Objection, Your Honor. Expert witness is not admissible as.
One.
Yeah.
Do any of the messages, does the dialogue fit the category of cyberstalking?
No, it doesn't. I've read the entire conversation, and I've read all the messages that Miss Williams posted and admitted to write, and I classified them in several categories. Some of the messages are ambiguous in nature, but they are also hypothetical. Other messages are clarifying statements, and others just ensuring that the other readers don't misinterpret the previous statements.
Thank you. No further questions.
Witness.
Ms. Evans, how many cases of cyberstalking have you assessed in the past?
Well, we have a couple of cases every year of cyberstalking in Mockingbird County.
Approximately in your career, how many have you dealt with?
Well, every year we have a couple, so I would say...
Objection, Your Honor. Relevancy, just
overruled.
Please answer the question.
Yes, I have many cases of cyberstalking. I cannot keep track of the exact number, but I would say out of 15 cases of stalking, 2 of them would be cyberstalking every year.
Okay. Have you ever served as an expert witness in the topic of cyberstalking?
Yes, it's part of my job. I witness at the courtroom.
And would you mind telling me what is the mental profile of a cyberstalker?
Yes.
What?
The mental profile of a cyberstalker.
Yes, that's what I would assess every time I deal with a cyberstalking case.
And what is the mental profile like of a typical cyberstalker?
There is no single typical profile, but there are several traits that can be related to a profile of a cyberstalker. Cyberstalkers are usually people who experience attachment disorders, and attachment disorders are they can result from a child-parent unhealthy relationship, but also can be a result of a regular unhealthy relationship, like a personal relationship. Cyberstalkers usually, they may or may not have a psychological disorder, but they do have a personality disorder. And personality disorder would be a behavioral pattern of traits that extremely deviate from the social norms.
Correct. And would you say that you've had enough interactions with Jamie Williams as well as with the evidence that you were presented to determine that she does not exhibit any of these traits?
Objection, Your Honor. We don't know who Jamie Williams is.
I mean, sorry. Kingsley Williams.
Yes,
I apologize, Kingsley Williams.
I've only met Ms. Williams today in the court, but my job was to assess the conversation in the chat room. And based on the conversation, I assessed that this conversation is not threatening. I don't have sufficient evidence to determine a profile or a mental state of Ms. Williams.
Thank you. And do you have any experience with chat rooms?
Yes, I do.
Would you mind elaborating on that?
Yes, I had a couple of cyberstalking cases and chat rooms came up as an evidence. This is not the first one.
Okay, and would you mind explaining what methodology is relevant to forensic interviewing that you performed in this case?
Yes, I usually, I would use a mental history of the person. I would use a medical history. I would interview the person, and I usually like to ask my client to keep a diary for a couple of days before I interview them, so I can assess their mental state, their emotions, their thinking process. I usually look at the cognitive processes and emotional processes. Those are the very first symptoms that I assess, and then if I have the ability to proceed, I assess the secondary symptoms of disorders.
Did any of those elements take place in this assessment for this particular case?
I based my assessment on the chat room conversation and the observation of Miss Williams today. She doesn't strike me as a cyber stalker.
But there were no medical records?
Oh, no.
There were no interviewing, there was no
Objection,
journal?
Your Honor, character is not an issue.
Overruled.
And would you mind telling me what elements are necessary to identify a psychological and characteristically typologically on an individual?
Objection, Your Honor, compound question.
It's...
That was compound question.
Sustained, because I'm tired of listening. Anything else?
Yes. In your statement, you also mentioned that perception of threats is shaped by sensibility, correct?
Yes.
When, if ever, have you compared these parameters with what Jamie Anderson might perceive as threatening?
I have not assessed Jamie Anderson's perception, but I made a general statement how perception influences and can be related in this case.
So your assessment of threat does not apply to everybody, correct?
Objection, Your Honor, relevancy.
No, it's very relevant.
Can you please restate it?
So based on what you just said,
Yes.
your assessment of threat of
Mhm.
those messages does not apply to everybody, since it's subjective.
It does.
But you just stated the opposite.
No, I said it may or may not be different perceived by a person.
Okay. Furthermore, in your statement, you mentioned that Kingsley Williams' intentions in writing her blog, which you reviewed, is the same as her intention in writing the chat room messages. Is that true?
Yes.
What methodology did you use for this purpose?
I simply assessed the conversation, and in the case of the chat room, it was, as I stated before, it's a pattern of her trying to simulate the conversation and try to express her academic interest, while in her blog she was trying to catch attention and find people who have the same interests as she does.
And who provided you with this evidence?
The
defense counsel?
The defense counsel, yes.
But didn't Kingsley Williams just deny writing that blog?
Yes, she did.
Thank you. No further questions.
Anything else? Thank you, ma'am. You come down. That's the last witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
What order are we going in?
Thank you, prosecutors go first and then
One argument each? You're on. Ladies and gentlemen, this is closing arguments.
We're here today because Jamie Anderson felt as if she was a victim of cyberbullying. Who she felt she was a victim of cyberbullying is by the defendant, Kingsley Williams. The two accounts that were cyberbullying and sending threatening, repetitive, online cyber attacks to Jamie Anderson is Shotwave, 2006, and, Fatal Fall, 2006, and Shotwave. Shotwave and Fatal Fall 2006 are both registered to Kingsley Williams. Over and over, Fatal Fall and Shotwave would send messages stating where Jamie was located, what she was wearing, and what she was doing. She said, "Come out of your second floor roost and play. You think blood won't show in those dark colors?" She indicated when Jamie was online and made sure that she knew Jamie was online to receive those messages so she could see them. So she knew she was being watched. She wanted to strike fear into Jamie Anderson. That's her whole purpose. Multiple times, Shockwave and Fatal Flaw would get and talk about fear, the anticipation of fear, striking fear into others. She said that over and over so Jamie would be scared. And she got what she wanted. Jamie started to get scared. She started to get terrified for her life, so she did go to the police. Kinsley Williams, the owner of Shockwave and Fatal Flaw, is not stupid. In fact, she's very intelligent. As she stated herself, she is intelligent. So she knew what she was doing. She's smart enough to know right from wrong. She knows what to say to somebody and what will scare somebody. She knows that. She's a college student. Over and over, she sent fear into Jamie, striking fear messages into Jamie. She wanted her to know that she knew she was watching her. And that's the main reason that we are here today. Jamie felt threatened by the defendant, Kinsley Williams, the owner of Shockwave and Fatal Flaw, who sent her repetitive, threatening messages. The university failed to protect Jamie. They failed in the program that was supposed to send out, they were supposed to watch for threatening messages, for anything to pop up, anything that seemed suspicious, not right, that wasn't supposed to be there. You heard the webmaster himself say that that program was not efficient enough to do so. And then a supervisor was supposed to be there to watch at all times. Both failed to protect Jamie Anderson, and this is her last time to be protected.
Okay, it says the defense.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and ladies and gentlemen of the courtroom, I just want to thank you all again for your time today, to come out and help us. However, your time here today is based on a huge misunderstanding. And as the judge is going to tell you, the basis of this prosecution's charges are based on intent. Let me explain what it is about intent. Our client was using the chat for what it was supposed to be used for what it was designed to be used for, an academic purpose. She threw out academic chats, trying to find other students to learn with her, to elevate her learning. And yes, she's a psychology major, so the things she studies, they're deep, and sometimes they're dirty, but that's academia. In college, things get brought up. It's not high school anymore. Things get brought up that have to be brought up in the real world. The Jack the Ripper reference, that's a real world situation. That happened. We have to learn from this. She wants to learn from this so that she can further help people. So she's using this in an academic way. Now, whether or not Jamie Anderson took that, maliciously is a matter of perception and context. Now, these messages that are sent out, like I said, yes, they are deep and they are dirty, as one would like to say. But were they academic? Yes. Did Jamie Anderson, take them the wrong way? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Jamie Anderson got offended by the Jack the Ripper incident. She ran out of class, embarrassed. And she remembered that too. She remembered that. And when her time came, she saw our client's postings on academic chat room and said, I can twist this. I can perceive this however I want. I can make others perceive this however they want. And she knew, here's my chance to get her back for embarrassing me in the classroom that day. And as she stated, her and her roommate collected evidence for a week, collected it up. And then they took it to the police. She didn't press that red button that was meant to stop cyberbullying. She did not press that one time. Not one time. And today, She stood here on that seat right there and said, no, I don't have any problems with those messages. I didn't have any problems with those messages. That's why I didn't press the button. But she collected up evidence and twisted the police's perception of these messages so that she could get a charge on the person who embarrassed her in the classroom. Our client who was trying to learn, trying to achieve academic excellence. Now, how many people have you seen over the course of history be persecuted for academic achievement, for trying to reach academic achievement? Plenty of famous figures. Albert Einstein, he was called mad, insane. Was he insane? No, he was brilliant. He aided in the creation of this country of millions of positive things. And that is exactly what our client was trying to do. Now, the problem that Jamie may have with our client, yes, so what? That's a misunderstanding. That was a misunderstanding. Once again, our client, trying to excel her academics in the Jack the Ripper case, was persecuted. She cannot be persecuted for this. You're about to make a decision that could change the life of our client, Jamie Anderson. It's going to completely change her life. And not only is this case based on intent, but it's based on identity. Not one person that the prosecution brought up, not one, put our client behind that keyboard. Not one. They can't tell who typed those messages. They don't know. They can guess and they can assume, but they don't know. Yeah, she made a mistake and left her passwords in the book. We all leave our passwords. We all make simple mistakes. And she admits to that. But because somebody else wanted to use her username fraudulently does not mean that we can prosecute her for that. This is her life we're dealing with. How is she supposed to go on with her life with a charge like this behind her name? She can't. And you don't know 100%, and there's no way. The prosecution did an excellent job of presenting facts. But the problem is the facts don't add up. The facts don't put our client behind the keyboard typing those messages. And the intent of those messages are solely academic. So with all this stated, we ask that you return the verdict.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the defendant is charged with cyberstalking. The defendant has been not guilty. The defendant is presumed to be innocent of these charges. This presumption of innocence remains with her throughout every stage of the trial and during your deliberations on the verdict. It is not overcome unless the evidence in the case convinces you beyond a reasonable doubt unanimously that she is guilty. The state has the burden of proving the case beyond a reasonable doubt, and the burden remains with the state throughout the case. Now, you may find that one or more witnesses who have testified in this case is or are interested in the outcome of this trial. You should take that into account in deciding whether you believe each witness. You are the sole judges of the credibility of each witness. You decide what to believe. You're the sole judges of the weight of the evidence. You decide how much weight to put on what you believe a witness has said to be true. A person commits the offense of cyberstalking when he or she knowingly electronically mails or communicates with another person repeatedly, whether or not conversation ensues, for the purpose of threatening, terrorizing, or harassing any person. To sustain the charge of cyberstalking, the state must prove the following things. First, that the defendant, on at least 2 occasions, knowingly electronically mailed or electronically communicated with Jamie Anderson. Second, that the defendant's purpose was to threaten or to terrorize or to harass Jamie Anderson. If you find from your consideration of all the evidence that each one of these elements has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, you should find the defendant guilty. If you find from your consideration of the evidence that any one of these elements has not been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, you should find the defendant not guilty. Let one of your persons to be a foreperson lead you into deliberations, talk about it, think about it, go out, come back, let me know when you're ready. Bailiffs, send them out.
Smashed it.
When she shot it,
all right, we'll wait for the jury to come back with their verdict. Let's go over a few notes. It's been a long week for me, kind of a crappy week too. And I should have come in here and said, please identify yourselves, please identify the victim. You know, I didn't do that. But when I didn't do it, y'all should have done that. So you should have introduced yourselves to the jurors. You may know them, I don't know. Adam, you had a good voice, but where were the word pictures? When we talked about word pictures, I really didn't see any in your opening statement. Defense. The first objection was good. Second one was not. The third was really not. And then the fourth one, I mean, really? You kept going. I realized that his opening sounded more like a closing, but, you know, this is not real. So I'm trying to let you roll. Most of the time, I did not rule the way I would have in a real case. Michael, good start, good voice. This is on your opening. Wrongly accused, that's a word picture. She's wrongly accused. You were confident. You got a little bit too loud, and you got to be careful banging on the box over there. You bang on the other boxes. I once had a prosecutor beat a stick. The third time he beat the stick, the juror said, "I told you to stop that." You know, so jurors don't like you beating on the box. They don't mind you beating on somebody else's box. Be careful banging on the jury box. Yeah, I got that. Burden of proof lies solely on the prosecutor. I like that. Those are good word pictures. Must find my client not guilty. Okay. Riggins, where's Riggins? Stand up.
Oh, Mark Riggs.
Riggs. Good voice, a little fast, but you slowed down when you got comfortable. You were a little stiff and stilted, but that's the way cops testify sometimes. So you testified like a real cop. You stood up well on cross-examination and you knew your part well. Adam, you had good questionings and you got details from this witness. Michael, search warrant. Why it looks like, okay, I didn't understand why you were going into that because you knew the evidence was coming in. It looks like you're now trying to hide behind a technicality. Where in your opening statement you said you would prove she's not guilty. That they had to prove her guilty. But you would go further, you would show she was not guilty. So it looks like you're hiding behind a technicality. And jurors don't like people getting off on technicalities. You're a little shaky on the refreshing the memory part, but that's just technique. And I know you're not lawyers, you're not even law students, but there's a way that you do that. You let them see the document. You know what this is, yes or no? Are there notes that you made at the time? And please read that. Now does this refresh your recollection? Good point on waiting a week. Hodges, where's Officer Hodges? Okay. Good voice, you knew your part well, you sounded like a cop, you were very knowledgeable. Adam, good clarifying questions. What training? What does an ex officer do? I mean, a cyber officer or whatever what he was, I didn't write that down, but good clarifying questions. How many cases? None of you asked your witnesses about, previous testimony. Maybe they didn't have any. And I understand we went outside, we went off the reservation a couple times with the questions. But that's what this thing is designed to do. Good points on both sides, bad points on both sides, and then some questions about how far you can go. You got out the information and you had very good questioning. However, there were several times during the trial when I sustained an objection and then the party just kind of abandoned the answer. I mean, you won the argument, but you didn't follow up. And I got a little confused at one point. I was confused a lot. I was confused. Who had the sex stuff in their car? Was that you? But you got the sex, where is she? You got the sex fetish, right?
Yeah.
I was waiting for the two to get together.
That's where I was headed, but
that's not what I meant. I mean, I was waiting for the two pieces of evidence to come together. Somebody to figure out what all that was going on. All right. We're going to have y'all all psychological.
We got an expert back there.
All right, and like I said, did I miss something? I overruled an objection, but then you didn't ask for the answer. Y'all were making a lot of technical objections like speculation and ask and answer and compound questions. You never sustained those. And Michael, I don't know what you did, but I got good way to finish. When you finished the redirect or the direct of this witness, actually the cross of this witness, it was good. I can't remember what it was, but I wrote down good way to finish. Charles Clever, where is he? Okay, good voice, very natural, and you looked at the jury appropriately. I mean, you would be sitting there talking, and you kind of look over at them. You acted very natural and a very believable witness. Fernando, good questions, good pace with him. Cross-examination, Ms. Nixon, you did a tough you did a good job on the tough questions. This was about the sex stuff, right? But that never went anywhere. I kept waiting for this something to happen.
Yeah, a certain blog that you got to read, which was
Okay.
really good, that these cybercrime students had more fun creating, and neither, you guys kind of brought it in, but you didn't jump on it.
All right, Shelby Edwards, where is she?
Yeah, you did want it, you just didn't see the picture on it.
Good voice, sounded real. You got a little excited, but that's okay. What real witnesses do, and you went a little fast. I thought the one thing you should have done was ask her to just calm down, just slow down, take your time. And like I said in the, I think I mentioned this, we all have little things we do. I talk with my hands. I say a lot. You say, okay. You kept saying okay, okay. Somebody else said and I'll get back to that later. Cross from Brent. Good point. Why did you wait an entire week? Good point on the little letters and the capital letters. Jamie Anderson, where's she? Good voice, you sounded real. Jordan, you did good job questioning her. You got out the info. You should have asked her to speak up rather than me asking her to speak up. There was, once again, there was a point where you asked a question, they objected, I overruled it, but then you abandoned the question. You didn't get the answer from her. You still had a good pace, and you're the one that says and in front of every sentence. And you really got bad with her. You really got bad with her. I can understand, it was exciting. Cross, Brent, good cross, very good cross, got better. Need to explain the red button more. You got the red button out, and it got explained later on, but I kind of figured out what the red button was, but I thought you should have asked her a little bit more. Tell us about the red button. You never pushed the red button, did you? Got the idea, but we had to get an explanation later. Alicia Davis, where's she? Good voice, very believable. Miss Anderson, okay, this I think you were talking here. Good questions, you got out good info. At one point you said something about, you asked her a question about Miss Anderson and Kinsley. I think that's what I wrote down. That was good. You personalized your defendant by calling her by her first name, but you were respectful to the victim by calling her her first and last name. You needed to be louder. Cross, Fernando, good questions. Good, you asked them about the teasing incident, and you asked her about that they made fun of her. And this is on her. Yeah, okay, good. Good points. Those are all good points. Lauren Albert, you were a little nervous throughout the entire thing, but that was okay. I mean, real witnesses are nervous. Good voice. Once you got going, you did better. You knew your part very well. Michael, very good direct. The red button, you came back to that and explained it. The DAs fell asleep. I mean, you were asking her a whole bunch of stuff that was objectionable. And I was purposely looking down, reading, because I had already thrown a pin at you one time. But they fell asleep. And sometimes you do let a bunch of stuff that's objectionable get in, because you know you're going to do the exact same thing. Like when he didn't object to the foundation, it's kind of set y'all up when you did object to the foundation. Asked to see the policy, that was good. Refresh, that was good. Back to Fernando. Good cross on her, very good on the statement. We were asking about the statement. Once again, I allowed a question about the employee's statement, and you didn't get the answer. You abandoned it. That was the third time that happened. And I understand, it was almost like you didn't understand what an overruled and object meant. And I understand sometimes when you win, you got to think, go ahead and answer the question. You got to tell the witness to go ahead and answer the question. And you, Ms. Nixon, recrossed, but Michael started, right? That kind of confused me when you switched in the middle there. Michael did he did the direct examination, and Fernando did the cross, but then you came back with the redirect. That kind of confused me.
Which you guys weren't supposed to do.
Yeah. And I wouldn't let you do it in real life either. Pat Clifford, where's he? Very good, very knowledgeable. You sounded very real. Michael did a good direct. Jennifer, good cross, but you can't go on and. And you got a good point using the policy. Mr. Holden, Bracewell, good voice. You swung back and forth in the chair, but real witnesses do that. And I saw Ms. Vonnegut tell you to stop.
Well, that's because the camera crew was like, Oriel's like, time to stop.
Tell them to stop.
Yeah.
You sounded well, you sounded good, and you were a feisty witness on cross-examination. Brent, good job of direct. Fernando Cross, you needed to force him when he would not tell you how many times he had, you asked him something about threats. He said, well, I don't know, I don't keep track of that. Well, was it more than 10? Yeah. Was it more than 100? Well, no. Well, how many was it? Was it 99? You needed to force him. You let him control that part of it. And he was starting to get a little bit cocky and arrogant, which you wanted him to do, but you wanted to kind of put him down a little bit. Kinsley Williams, that's you?
Yes.
Okay. Sounded real. You fought back. Sounded like you were a real defendant. Sounded like you were really there. Ms. Nixon, good direct. Adam, good cross. But I thought maybe you should ask her, why not ask her which one she sent? I think from your cross-examination, you got out that she denied 2 and that she admitted 2, but there were like 5 more. I'd have gone down with each one. Well, did you send this one? Did you send this one? What did you mean by that? Because some of them on the very face were threatening to set up her argument. I think her argument should have been, you know, she says she didn't send all this stuff. We know it. You know it. But let's just look at the ones she admitted. She's admitted at least 2. Now, if somebody said that to you, would you didn't think that's threatening, ladies and gentlemen? That's threatening. The judge is going to tell you 2 times is enough. Threats. You have to find her guilty. Anita Evans, where is she? Okay. Can you stand up and tell me what your real name is?
Alina Payanko.
Okay, I want to make sure that was your real voice. I said this before. You sounded very professional. That accent lends a credibility to an expert. You know, they asked you well.
But he has a good point. We had one mock trial, and I'm dying because the student put on an accent the whole time.
Yeah.
And we're dying. I'm like, that is not him. And so when you talk to him, he said, oh, that's not. I mean, he got so into character. It was hysterical.
He really did.
Yeah.
Very real, very knowledgeable. Good direct. Who did the direct on that? Good direct. Cross, Fernando. Some of it was good. Some of it was bad. On the whole, it was very good. But once again, I think I warned y'all, make good points on Cross. There's some things you just didn't need to go into. You were making good points with her, but then you would ask her a question that didn't really make a lot of sense. Not that it didn't make a lot of sense, but it didn't have a lot of bearing. Okay, thank you. Jennifer, you did the closing. Why were you leaning on this thing?
Jordan.
Jordan. I'm sorry, I can't read my own writing. Jordan, why were you
Probably because
leaning?
I was nervous.
Okay,
If
well,
that wasn't
you're
obvious
nervous.
enough.
Last year I said it's all right to use notes. Then I got overruled by Ms. Vonnegut, who said she won't let you use notes.
Yeah, and then I saw Jordan, and I thought, oh, no, you're not.
Miss Vonnegut, how am I going to see that from all the way over
Because,
there?
am I not mistaken?
Kept taking peeks. She was peeking. She was peeking.
The whole time.
Peeking.
And you want to know why, Jordan? Because my jury was looking like, yeah, we see
Okay,
that.
well, I can tell you, I can't read that
Well,
from
you
over
got-
there.
you
If I
gotta
could,
remember,
I
I'm
would
in
have,
charge of
trust
the
me.
courtroom. She's in charge of the classroom. I'm going to give you a critique. She's going to give you a grade. So you got to do what she says. But in real life, most lawyers do use notes. It's very impressive when you can make a closing argument without notes, though. Once again, I think you should have said, this is why you have to convict her. This is what we have to prove. I mean, the statute's very favorable to you. And it doesn't matter what she thinks. It doesn't matter what this expert out there with the fancy accent thinks. It doesn't matter what this person thinks. What matters is what did the victim. What's the victim's name? Kim. Is it Kim?
Jamie.
Jamie. My son's name, Jamie. I don't remember that. Matters what she felt. And ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, if somebody said these things to you, somebody over the internet, somebody you can't see, you know they can see you. Looking, I see you in the window. That person sees her, knows who she is, knows where she is, knows what she's doing. That's terrifying, ladies and gentlemen, and she was terrified. you needed to personalize it just a little bit more, make the jury put them in her position. Who did the closing, let's see, threatening? Brent, you did the closing for the defendant.
Are they ready? Jury is ready.
Okay, Tim, wait just a minute. I thought it was real good, and I hope you got this from my lecture. As the judge is going to tell you, you're telling them what the judge is going to say. I think that lends credibility to you. Your motion was great. The red button was good. The victim had no problem with this. Good. The example about Einstein was good. You were able to explain away the stuff. I like the way you asked them to think about, what's this going to do to her life? This is going to change the life of the defendant. Great. And I really like this. This is kind of like a theme, like the word pictures, and like I tried a murder case in which the prosecutor's theme was truth found a way. Truth found a way. And your theme was identity and ID. Identity and ID. And we fall off on both of those. That was great. It's her life we're dealing with. And I really like this. We don't know 100%. Now, you don't have to know 100%. But you had the last argument. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't know 100%. You just don't know. So how can you convict her? All in all of you did a great job. I'd give you all an A, but she doesn't ask me about that.
Take example.
I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. Last year I found out that this is very terrifying.
Yes.
To
Well, in the fall
yeah.
for litigation, but law legal, who was, I think, Jake, you guys had a ball, but litigation, they were petrified.
I told the group last year, if it's terrifying, that's good. Maybe it'll tell you that this is not what you want to do in life, or maybe it'll tell you that this is what you want to do in life. But you should have fun with it. I understand you got to do it. You're making a grade, but in the very beginning, I come in with a little humor, giving the jurors pencils to write down that don't have a point on them. They can't write. Bringing in my big hammer, because I want you to relax. I want you to have a good time and learn.
Hey, Antonio, you guys just at the back over there, clear it up so the jury can kind of be.
All right. I know that all of you wait to hear what this jury says, but to me, that's not important.
Yeah, grab right there.
It's not important who wins or loses this. What's important is what you learn, what you take away from this, how it changes. But I know you all want to know. All right? So who speaks to this jury?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay? Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict?
Yes, sir.
What says the jury?
We find the defendant not guilty.
Wow, I can't believe that. Just kidding. All right. I've always wanted to say that to a jury who came in. All right. I'm sure they would love to have some feedback from y'all. All right. So I'm gonna sit down.
Real, very, very, very quickly, I want to thank all my jurors for showing up. Dr. Fagan gets an award. She has been on every jury for me. I cannot thank her enough. So guys, I appreciate her doing this. If you have not, I'm just going to say call her Miss K, because I always mess up Miss Sabrina's name. She's the director of our cybercrime program, and she's wonderful. She helped, her and Jake helped me, and Scott, they all helped us put this together. And so I really appreciate what they did. So, and I also want to thank Elizabeth here. Is actually, I want to tell you why I think this is really exciting. She's actually an alumni of UNC Wilmington, my school, and she is going to law school next year at Campbell. And on her own, she shows up 3 days a week to take legal research and writing for no credit, nothing, so that she's prepared for law school. And she will be going there in the fall.
And who is this?
It's Elizabeth.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Golly, I think that ought to be rewarded. Would you like to be my intern this summer?
Oh, yes, I would.
She's already.